Good evening, or welcome back to United TV. We're going to be talking about a story which I thought would be a straightforward story to start with about Manchester United making a formal approach on the player side to try and get Tchouaméni to try and start the ball rolling, see if Tchouaméni is interested in a move to Manchester United. But the context of what's happening at Madrid is so bizarre that I don't know where to start with this one. But I will try and go for some of the information that I've been reading because this afternoon there's been so many stories coming out from the Real Madrid side. Last night, like quite late last night, we heard a lot of news coming out from Real Madrid that there's this crazy Mbappe poll going, isn't there? Or this vote where people are signing this petition to actually say they don't want Mbappe at Madrid, and then we hear breaking news of too many and Valverde having a fight. And originally, what happened? I got a bit more information on this. A bit more's come out, but apparently this afternoon I saw this news, and to say crazy is a bit of an understatement because I think some of the news started off talking along the lines of Valverde leaving the training ground in a wheelchair, going to hospital, and obviously things have escalated somewhat. But apparently, how it started was, I think last night there was a bit of a training ground fight where I think too many had put in quite a hard tackle on Valverde. He said it was a hard but fair tackle. Valverde was then kicking him around a bit, putting in deliberately hard tackles. After that, they tried to defuse it. And it seems this has carried on today, where essentially Valverde has just been like putting in hard tackles into too many. It continued into the changing rooms where whatever happened there, I think Valverde's fallen, hit his head, had to go to hospital. He's out of the Classico, and it's absolutely ridiculous what's happening. So this is the backdrop of what's happening. Do you remember when we first talked about too many? Maybe about I don't know about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, when there was news and interest in too many, and a lot of the questions were right: is too many a good player? Yes. Does he want to leave Real Madrid? Questionable. But at the time, it was Real Madrid want to keep him. He's under contract. They want to extend the contract. Now we're seeing all this craziness come out. Valverde is pretty much never going to leave Real Madrid. Like he's pretty much one of the key people at that club. The question is going to be is like, did too many resolve the issues with Valverde, or is he going to be forced out? As far as we know at the moment, Valverde's injuries are probably a bit unknown. That he is missing the next game. He's going to miss the Barcelona match, which is obviously huge news. But they're both going to be having the maximum disciplinary sanction. I don't know what that is. What is the maximum disciplinary sanction that Real Madrid can give them? But this is on a backdrop of absolute chaos. Like there's sometimes you hear people say things are chaotic. This is absolute chaos. Though you've got two players. One's been hospitalised by the other. There's a petition to remove Mbappe by fans. Um, what is Manchester United's play in this? So Manchester United's interest is that they see too many as potentially the best Casemiro replacement out there. And does this story, I suppose, when you look at the headlines, it's not great, is it? In terms of like, if you're looking at too many, it's not great what you're reading. But in terms of when you look into the story more deeply, it seems that Valverde is essentially putting a tackle. Let's say too many is essentially putting a tackle on Valverde. He's responded. He's not let it go. It's escalated and escalated, and it seems to be mainly on Valverde's side that's escalated it. Too many, obviously, he's pretty physically strong. What can you say? So that's kind of the backdrop. It does make you think, though, is Valverde's future now highly questionable? And if it is, what actions should Manchester United take? Does this affect the value of too many? There's a lot of questions we're not going to find out. That if this is resolved, then it's not going to happen overnight. I wouldn't have thought. But no, I'll go through the comments as well and see what people are thinking regarding this one as well. Um, so I'll just go through. Maybe I'll go from the top and say, Giwa said, if you want him, this is the time to do it. And yeah, if you want him, I mean, it's not like it's not like he's on great terms with Real Madrid at the moment. So that's kind of the story I thought was like pretty crazy as well. So let me have a look at a few of the comments as well and see what people are thinking. So Valverde accused him of leaking yesterday's fight to the press. Too many denied it, and Valverde kept pushing. That's kind of what I've been reading as well. I've been reading that too many is almost like I'm not saying comes out of this not being guilty, but what I'm saying is that it seems that this has come from Valverde pushing it, and then too many snapped, and Valverde got injured. So that's kind of the story there. It is a very bizarre one, isn't it? That I know players probably fight all the time. There's like disagreements, etc. But I think this has kind of escalated a little bit more. I'll go through some of the comments. So if you just tuned in, please post some comments, and we'll go through this one as well. So if he hospitalised him, I think the context is that he fell, hit his head. They're going to be resolving this in in-house, but it's going to involve disciplinary sanctions for both these players. I mean, it's probably more embarrassing for Real Madrid, I think, and probably for like people like Valverde. Does that say push or punch? I think people are assuming that he punched him, but I mean, they're going to they can't really keep this behind closed doors, can they? When someone goes to hospital in a wheelchair, you can't really say too much. But to kind of like bring it back to Manchester United, then where do you see this player in terms of like? So Andy says if he wants out, then let's get him. I remember if you're looking at some of the players in the past, I'm just trying to think of like Eric Cantona had some issues at Leeds. We got him as a good player. So too many was a player I was saying a little bit like so too many bit of a temper sounds like Keane 2.0. I was actually thinking this afternoon that if you're looking at the player, then could too many be like a Roy Keane, where you think defensively he's incredibly good, someone that's going to be very experienced, definitely. I was going to say aggressive player, but without trying to make any sort of puns, clearly he's a physical presence. We said that before. 6'2", strong, very disciplined, incredibly good defensively. It could be centre back as well, not just central defensive midfielder. And he's looking at somebody who's going to be potentially doing loads of the things in Manchester United that we've not had done in the club. Maybe Casemiro was the closest, but we've not had an elite world class centre like defensive midfielder. Probably like Roy Keane, like someone that has been like this one as well. So I think you're comparing the temper, Yardi. I'm just thinking, could they get the quality? Like, could they get the quality of someone like Roy Keane, someone that is going to make our team very hard to play against? And also a physical presence, which we're definitely looking for. Big up to you, Danny. So I will go through all these ones as well. Let's say too many Valverde had a fire in the tunnel after the last match. The thing I'm just thinking is that do you have a situation where that too many's got a contract offer on the table apparently, and Real Madrid have said they don't really want him to leave, but you have to look at it at some point and say that Real Madrid need to sort out this issue. Like the dressing room is a bit broken. They've got a lot of egos in that dressing room. What manager's going to go in and sort it out? I think at the moment you probably have to look at it and say some of these have to, someone has to get moved out. I get the feeling that when you're looking at this situation, too many, maybe this is the catalyst of him actually leaving the club. It seems absolutely crazy, doesn't it? I would say we need too many a few years ago to knock. So yeah, maybe that's the thing, isn't it? Maybe this is what Manchester United have been lacking in the team. They're lacking some sort of leadership or someone that's going to be holding the other players accountable to a certain standard. And that's not something United have had either. So that's what I was thinking in terms of like some of the things Roy Keane can bring. You need someone that's got some leadership as well. You need someone that's got the quality. I mean, the fact that we're talking about the dressing room meltdown and the fights and everything, that for me, I'm only looking at in terms of like, okay, it's maybe for the press, it's great drama. From a fan perspective, you have to look at it and say, like, it's too many, someone that could cause problems. But on the context of it, it seems that there's been an overreaction by Valverde, and it's probably just unfortunate that Valverde's fallen on a hard floor, hit his head, and I think it might be an unfortunate injury rather than, I don't think when you see someone being taken to hospital, it feels very dramatic, doesn't it? And one thing that might be interesting to see is that considering these are two key players, they're going to have some sort of disciplinary action. I have no idea what is the maximum disciplinary action someone can have. I'm just trying to think. When the only thing I can think of at Manchester United is like Rio Ferdinand missed a drugs test, which was a lengthy ban. I think the club did try to do something. Eric Cantona missed most of the season because of kicking a Crystal Palace fan. But if you're looking at what's the maximum disciplinary sanction, how does that affect the rest of the? Well, obviously, the season's almost over, but is that going to be something that forces too many to walk away? Can they resolve this? It is like, luckily for Manchester United perspective, it's not really our issue. The question is going to be like, does this make you like more determined we can get Valverde now? Because I was looking at it thinking, there's a few top targets we got. I'm looking at this from a player perspective. There's a lot of good targets out there. I think too many. I was going to say Valverde then. I think too many is one of these targets that does appeal a lot because he addresses definitely something we're trying to replace in our team. He's probably the closest I can think of in terms of like someone that ticks most of the boxes that United would like. I would probably say if I could pick one player, I'm going for Anderson, but you have to be realistic and say Anderson at the moment, he's going to cost even more money, and there's probably going to be more difficult to try and get him. Too many. It feels like if he's leaving Real Madrid, I don't see him linked to any other club and say, Mark says, I'd love too many at Manchester United. He'd be a statement signing. I think someone went through some of the stats and they were just saying that in terms of if you're looking at what too many does, I think the sort of pass completion stats and some of the other defensive stats as well, they're essentially better than anyone in any league. They're literally world class. I mean, you're going to see him in the World Cup. He's one of the first names on the team sheet for France. He's an elite player. That's why it's exciting. The only and one thing I did hear people talk about is obviously La Liga is different to the Premier League. B is also a player that when Real Madrid have played English teams, he's been an absolute beast to play against as well. So, yeah, very. Yeah. For me, it's an exciting signing because there's lots of players we buy and lots of players we're linked to that you have to look at and say the story I would have covered tonight as a lead story if this hadn't happened would have been Manchester United were actually talking with Fernandes. So Matheus Fernandes of West Ham at Manchester United have started talks with him, and apparently he's interested. And this deal is something that does have a decent probability if West Ham get relegated. So at the moment, with West Ham and Spurs, I'd say it's like 50-50, like 50-50 whether they stay in the Premier League. So we could be looking at potentially Manchester United get a decent deal for a top quality young midfielder if they get relegated. Now, Man United are it seems we're making a bit more progress there. That we're actually, we're getting a bit of a green light possibly from Fernandes to joining Manchester United, and that is obviously going to be exciting news and key news as well because that's pretty much how you get deals done. The price is not going to be that expensive if West Ham get relegated. I wouldn't be expecting a complete bargain price like West Ham will. They're not going to sell them for stupidly cheap, but compared with players we're looking at, I think it's a very sensible deal. So let's go through a few of the comments. But that would have been the lead story, and that would have been like an exciting story as well. That Fernandez is a very good player, having a good season in a poor team. But when you start looking at too many, that when Mark said that's a statement signing, it really is like a statement signing, someone that's been a world class player, that he might be one of the stars that shines in the World Cup, might be playing for a team that's going to lift the World Cup as well in the summer. I think this is the kind of level where Manchester United that these are the sort of players that you would if United are lining up against the top team in the Champions League next season, and you've got too many in your team. You've got a warrior in your team that's got so much experience. I think that would be crucial. So I'm kind of like very much in favour of this. Like if this is an option, and you're looking at 70 million pounds or 80 million pounds for that as a rough price. Okay, the salary's not going to be cheap, but we're not talking about insane salaries. It's probably gonna be a salary a bit lower than Casemiro's. So let's say Ronaldo fight with Van Nistelrooy. Well, I think that would be a bit one-sided fight, wouldn't it? When Ronaldo came into the league, Van Nistelrooy was a lot bigger. So you think true box to box midfield too many, get up and down the pitch, defend, attack, says Jay. Yeah, there doesn't seem for me there doesn't seem to be negatives regarding this one. I would say Schmeichel and Keane. Yeah, didn't they fight in like a car park somewhere? That I mean, as a fight of a broken arm training ground. I mean, I'd say probably. I think it's like it's almost certain that there's been like fights everywhere as well. Um, No, it doesn't sound good. I would say we'll have to find out what's going to happen with this because obviously this has just happened as well. It's a bit crazy. And big up to you, Nems, in the chat. So, and I was thinking for Man United that you could look at it. I'm not going to try. I'm trying not to make too many jokes about the situation because I don't know the severity of any sort of injuries. But what I'm saying is that this is a motivational reason for him to actually want to leave the club. Like if he's fallen out with a player, regardless of the fight, then I think if you've fallen out with the player, yeah. It said Real Madrid giving us Varane, Casemiro now potentially too many. I think of those as well. is too many probably actually the one player we're getting that potentially would be getting some peak years from? Like Varane was a world class player in his time. We were a bit unlucky that he had a couple of injury issues when we signed him. Casemiro, if we used him more effectively since from day one, I think there's a world class player. Well, maybe there was a world class player in there. We got a very good player, but maybe you're looking at too many as potentially, too many is Casemiro's replacement, and too many is at its prime now. So you would be getting a prime player that is going to be that drops into your team. Suddenly you've got a world class player. So let me just refresh the comments a little bit. Danny B saying you think he's injury prone. I think he's played like if you look at how many games he's played a lot of football. So let's no, just have a look at some of the comments that Jim says too many could be a problem. We're trying to get rid of Rashford. Do we need another problem? I think, Jim, if you read the articles, then it's effectively that not a lot different from a lot of training ground bust ups. Like I think the fact that players fall and hit their heads unfortunate, but this is too many. If essentially being defending himself, it appears. It seems that Valverde just wouldn't let it go, wouldn't let it go, wouldn't let it go. And eventually it escalated. But I don't think too many himself is a problem. I think there's definitely a problem at Real Madrid. And I think that United have got a good team spirit. You have to look at it as well and say that from a Manchester United perspective, the one thing we have been looking at quite carefully with like the situation of players' attitudes is making sure the players are coming for the right reasons. And I think with too many, he is keen to stay at Real Madrid if but he wants to play in a position which he prefers. He wants to win trophies. Clearly, he's a winner. I think he wants to, he wants to play football, but if he feels that Real Madrid is not a place where he's actually going to be either wanted or he's going to get on with his teammates or he's going to play in a position which he favours. So there are a lot of big egos in Real Madrid, and there are a lot of people that are controlling things. And I think a lot of people look at Mbappe and say, "Is Mbappe causing problems? Is Valverde causing problems? Possibly." And maybe for too many, maybe it's just like no, he's had enough of that rubbish and wants to leave. But I think Manchester United would have to look at that very carefully in the same way that I think people said the same about Eric Cantona. Eric Cantona had this track record across France where he'd punched teammates, he'd hit. There was a lot of things like that as well. So I think you have to look at it and say what he's done at Real Madrid or what's happened at Real Madrid. Then I've seen worse from other players. But you have to look at it and say, I think Manchester United at the moment do have quite a good environment. We've moved the bomb squad on. So I do agree with you, Jim. Like, if he is a problem or is considered a problem, then Manchester United must be doing their due diligence, surely, and you'd see that happen. Cake, that is that made me laugh, but that's a terrible one, Cake. If you want to, do you know what I was going to say? What I was going to say is, you're making me laugh. What I was going to say is, because I was trying to be quite serious, um, is that when I was typing the thumbnail out, and you're making me smile, when I was typing the video description out, this is actually Cake, fair play. This is actually one of your best jokes. So I'll leave this on screen for a while. That's actually one of your best ones. Now, when I was typing the thumbnail out, I was thinking, I've done this so many times now, I can actually spell too many, pretty much without having to spell check, and I was thinking, I remember 2 years ago, because when people talk about players they want, I remember working out how to spell Cavashalia. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but Cavashalia, and I kind of worked out how to spell that one. And Kadioglu is another one I worked out how to spell. So now some of these names, when you start thinking that you want these players yourself, and you start making more thumbnails and looking at signing these players, then I rate Valverde. Sorry, too many, and oh, that's. And I'll read it because make me laugh. How many times Valverde was punched? Nobody knows because there was too many to count. It works, doesn't it? It pretty much works. Well done, Cake. Fair play, fair play. So to go back on track a little bit. Um, say Real Madrid can't let two superstars sit today. Well, one of them is possibly lying down rather than sitting, and the other one's going to be getting some maximum disciplinary action, whatever that is. So, I have got a poll running. I don't know what people's thoughts are, but let me know what you think in terms of like, so 84% of people at the moment would be looking at saying we should push to sign too many. I think I think forget the story and forget what's happened. I think if you're looking at the player with sort of, in terms of what he's done, what he's achieved as a football player on the pitch for Real Madrid, he's world class. Like we have these question marks about, should we sign Belieber? You go, okay, Belieber had a good season, then Belieber had a disappointing season, or you look at getting a player that's had a very good season like Fernandez, and people are quite positive about that. You look at Wharton, think like, is Wharton going to be a big upgrade? How is he going? Is he going to be a good option? I think when you look at too many, I think there's like a lot of arguments to say he's an excellent football player and he would bring a lot to our team. And you don't have to look at if you looked at Belieber, people would say, right, where would Belieber play? Would he be more defensive? Are we looking at getting 2 8s? So what's his game? Where would like how would Tonali fit in? I think if you get too many, and everybody knows exactly where he fits into the club, they know where he plays, they know what he brings. It doesn't seem that risky to me. That when we're signing players for this sort of money, it doesn't feel like risky as someone that's going to be, someone that's going to be played football at the highest level for ages. So I should hire Cake Cadet for like definitely Cake. I think Cake is available for parties and other events if you need someone to do a bit of speaking with a bit of jokes. Maybe the next time I'm talking about something, I will be getting um maybe Cake involved. Apparently, so no, does Real Madrid's situation feel a little bit like Manchester United's situation maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago, where it seemed like Manchester United had different groups of players. There was a lot of disconnect. There were different groups. There was leaking information. There was all this negativity. And the thing is, that I am mindful of like what Jim said, and that you want to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and you want to try and keep the team spirit because that's clearly going to be something that Manchester United have been doing well the last 6 months, and we can build on that. And there's definitely positives. Andy says, get a petition to get another one out. I mean, one of the things I would say is that it's going to be interesting to see how Real Madrid fans respond because I remember the Real Madrid fans for the situation when do you remember when Roberto they had Roberto Carlos Beckham, they had R9 and they had Luis Figo, and I remember that they had a couple of poor games and the fans at Madrid were smashing up their cars. This must have been about 2001, 2002, where they had the Galacticos. It must have been probably just before Beckham went or when just after Beckham left. So the Real Madrid fans are pretty brutal. If the team puts in bad performances, the fans go crazy, and the fans kind of almost demand change. And I think when you're looking at this, they'll demand change of the manager, which almost always happens. And I think some of the fans now are demanding want to see Mbappe gone. Which I mean, I don't watch enough Madrid to see that, but there's definitely like Danny saying there's player power. The player power will get rid of the manager in a flash at Real Madrid, and Mbappe will probably have a lot more power than the manager, I'd imagine. And if you look at the other players, like if Valverde's got a lot of power as well, then like Tchouaméni's a world class player. But are you going to see a situation where Tchouaméni's almost like forced out of the club? And yeah, we did see like David Beckham was by no means the worst player at Real Madrid, and he was pretty much isolated at one point, and the players had to try and get him back in. So there's a lot of issues regarding this one. And I did see someone actually earlier in the chat, I can't remember who it was now, that said you should be maybe it's going to be maybe we should look at Camavinga. I think Camavinga's got a bit of injury issues. He is cheaper. I think Camavinga's the player that Real Madrid want to sell. They don't really want to sell, or they haven't wanted to sell too many up until this point as well. Okay, so it's quite funny because some of the ex-United players talk about training ground fights being good for the dressing room. Like Roy Keane and Peter Schmeichel definitely went at it a couple of times. They didn't like each other. I think with this one they had respect on the pitch. It depends if you can channel that. It depends what the reason is for the dislike, but there's definitely I suppose there's there's two winners there, isn't there? Like with Schmeichel and Roy Keane, they're both excellent players throughout the 90s. So no, it does seem to be that it depends what the reason is. If there's definitely some sort of issue with like too many and Valverde, which seems to be coming from Valverde's side, if Valverde wants him gone, then maybe he's gone. Like maybe it's maybe that is the problem. Um, Kate, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. And so he directly addresses our problem with losing control under pressure. Very disciplined, proven star. He could he. If I look at a lineup and we've got too many in it next to Mainu and Bruno Fernandes, then I mean, if we're looking at other players as well, that could be Belieber, I would just be looking at thinking any player alongside too many. You start thinking, right, too many is going to give you a platform to control a match, to elevate the whole of your team. If you're looking at ball retention and someone that's going to be a winner, a keeper, also he would be ideal as well in front of the back four. You got younger players like Aiden Heaven, Yoro, and even like St. Maguire's not the quickest if he's in the team. I think you've got a player there that actually directly improves our because one of the things I've been concerned a little bit about this season is Man United are scoring way more goals. We are still conceding a decent amount of goals, and we could still look at working on our defensive end. I think some of the issues being this season is that if Casemiro goes off, then Agate was playing a lot, and yeah, our team kind of loses something when he was playing. And if you look at Maynard being injured, it's the same issue, and there wasn't much depth. But if you can get some like too many in, and that for me fills a big gap. It does mean then that if we buy players that are a bit younger, and I think the most talked about recently because of the story today that if this is true, and Manchester United are genuinely moving towards Fernandes, and if this is also accurate, and that Man United have made an approach, the player's interested. It seems to depend on, the deal's probably going to be off if West Ham stay in the Premier League, which makes it a bit difficult for myself because I kind of want West Ham to stay up because I want Spurs to get relegated. But if West Ham do get relegated, then we do benefit possibly because it seems like we might be a bit more advanced than other clubs in this deal. I'm not sure if there's any other clubs linked to Fernandes, but I think he would be a really good player to get. But it would be great to get a player like this one, but also having too many is all the experience. So for me, that's really good. Like this would be a very young player that's looking top quality, but no pressure to play every single match, no pressure to carry our team, because too many can do that. And if we're looking at a relegated West Ham, I think a relegated West Ham, the price is maybe closer to 40, like 40 million for Fernandez. You're looking at probably I don't know exactly how much too many would cost, but the rumor was it would be about 70, maybe 80. And I think they're talking about 80, 70 to 80 million pounds, that sort of price point. I mean, Real Madrid are probably going to want to get the maximum out of that deal. But you probably think if you can spend, I don't know, 120 million pounds and you got too many plus Matheus Fernandes, I think that's actually pretty good. And if you look at then that maybe Belieber is another option, but if you're looking at those two players, then maybe Belieber isn't going to be then chosen. But if you got Belieber as well, that you're probably going to have to spend a lot. That is going to be a big spend, isn't it? But if you got Belieber, too many, and Fernandez, and that's probably going to be rough estimate. I know it's going to be like 180, 190, isn't it? It's going to be a lot of money. It's probably going to be similar to what we spent on three attacking players last season. The only I suppose the positive about that one would be that that would probably fix midfield for a long time. Like you wouldn't be looking at much upgrades for that one. I was like, Liverpool is rumored to be interested in Fernandes too. I mean, Liverpool seem to be making progress with signing Adam Wharton. So I'm not sure how many midfielders they've obviously got. Bosley, they got another couple of quality players. They added Verts recently. So I don't know. They've Liverpool got some decent midfielders already. That maybe if they're looking at Fernandes, possibly they're looking at one. If they get Adam Wharton, are they looking at Fernandes as well? It's possible. It's possible. I think Man United could maybe offer more game time on this window, depending on which players we buy. But that's an interesting one. But that would be quite an aggressive spend on midfield. So that would be quite a lot if we got those three players. I still think that it looks a bit like so you think you know which Rich's three he wants now. So do you want? I was thinking that when I consider the players I want and the players I think we're going to get, I think there's like a lot. I think there's a significant angle of wanting of Man United wanting to get Belieber does seem to be on the cards. I've said quite a few times I would pick Anderson, but I think because Anderson feels a little bit unlikely, I would say that Man United for me, one of the things I want is experience. And I haven't seen a player that's we've talked about or been linked to that's got the level of experience that too many's got. So I know people can disagree on the skill set or what he'd bring. I think too many for me would be a good acquisition. If you're looking at not getting too many, is like Tonali the most experienced player we've been linked to midfield wise? Because it feels a bit like you've got too many Anderson and um, and Tonali. I think Tonali might be too expensive, like based on what's happening. But if you're looking at Belieber's that transfer story that won't go away, will it? So I get the feeling Man United that if we put it this way, if Man United got too many and then actually got Fernandes, then maybe the Belieber price would actually be lowered to a level which we do go for. I think the Buwadi one, I'm actually pretty keen on this one. I'm just thinking if they get too many, they get Fernandes. Already got Komenu as well. Then I kind of like that deal. It depends on the price, doesn't it? But I do quite like that, say, the profile that Belieber's got might actually be interesting with some like too many in the squad as well. But it is a tricky one, isn't it? I think what even maybe price wise would work, but I think you're looking at someone that's an 18-year-old, and maybe you'd question whether I think if I was going to say in a terms, footballing sense, I think Buwadi would probably benefit from actually staying where he is or going to a club where he can be first choice. Like I think Buwadi's making incredible progress for a 17, 18, like just turned 18. I think he's making incredible progress in the world of football. I think it would be a shame for him to then like if I was Buwadi or I'm advising him, I would say choose somewhere where you're going to play football week in, week out. Like maybe we're looking at him like Cherky was 21, wasn't he, when we were looking at him last year? I think with Buwadi, like maybe another year, or look at a Premier League team where you can play week in, week out if you want to join the Premier League. But I'm not sure whether Man United would be the best move for Buwadi if we're going to be buying lots of the other young players that potentially are going to be ahead of him. Like, will he get enough games? I don't know. It's tricky. I do like him though. I think he's a top quality talent, but I think at this point in time, I would say Man United would go for. I think we're going to have to go for experience over youth to some extent. Like, Fernandez is youthful as well. Belieber's quite youthful, but no, I think you're probably close actually. I'm kind of leaning towards if I could pick two players, I think too many and Fernandez would be up there. Particularly if West Ham get relegated, I don't think there's actually any a better deal on the table. Like if you're looking at quality and price. I think this might be the best one out there. That how much will it cost if they're relegated? I've heard anything from like 34 million, 40 million. I mean, West Ham will probably lose a few key players. They might lose another. I think maybe that it'd be difficult to get Bowen if he's on a big contract, but also he's probably a bit old for Manchester United's strategy. No, I think he'd be gone. And if Liverpool are looking at him, they should be looking at him because he's good. I think Paris Saint-Germain were looking at him as well, but that might be a very difficult team for him to get into. So now maybe it's the same situation. I think if Man United are looking at signing younger players, I think you get Fernandez or Buwadi. I don't know if you get both of them because are they both going to be playing that one? Let's say Kobe and Anderson were not playing great for England. So too many skill set will fit better with Kobe. We could see we could see somebody that can do more of the defensive work. Like if Kobe Mainoo can and actually Kobe Mainoo's stats off the ball are very good. Like he wins the ball back, I think, as much as anybody in the team. If you put him further forward, I think we can see what he can do. Like you can see that he's going to link up play quite nicely. It would be kind of perfect, wouldn't it? So we're going to have too many kind of linking defense to midfield, and you got Mainu a bit further forward that again makes very good decisions. He can link with too many Bruno Fernandes. I think it does feel quite exciting, doesn't it? That's because you got someone that's going to be quite elite, but also I think in terms of playing a couple of games a week as well, too many would be able to do that a little bit more than a lot more than Casemiro, and that would be something which I'd need to be looking for as well. I think one thing we do need to look at is probably depth for the squad, but also if we start going for a few players that are a little bit younger, a little bit more physical, I think we're naturally going to be a little bit better off 2 games a week as well because we're going to be able to keep that level up. But no, maybe that's one thing as well. Maybe if Buwadi did come, maybe there are enough games to go around. But it's difficult to see Man United going for that. That would be two non-Premier League clubs, and it does seem to be that Manchester United's uh, all the transfer news being pushed out by everybody is pretty much there's going to be a big focus on Premier League players. So whether that's a sensible decision or not a sensible decision, it's I think it's going to be likely. So if we sign three midfield players, I would be surprised if we get two non-Premier League players. That's all I'm saying. Andy says Somerville will be a good option. How much do you reckon he would cost? So I've heard a few people they're talking him about there. United so Dice says bringing in egos into the piece we have now isn't a good idea. I generally agree that it's about the team, isn't it? So having like a Galactico mentality that maybe Real Madrid had, well, maybe they have again now, but they did have that definitely early 2000s, and it didn't yield loads and loads of trophies, did it? So it depends, doesn't it? There's definitely a lot of egos in Real Madrid. I couldn't really categorically say if too many has the big ego as well, or if he's part of the problem or he wants out. I don't know. Hopefully, Real Madrid, I think Man United need to have somebody that's essentially that just sides of the mentality is right, a bit like Lamans and yeah, a couple of other players. So going through these ones, in terms of this one, I did see something saying that West Ham posted something. It might have been it might have been a day ago actually, and the story was that West Ham wanted to make sure they didn't lose money on the deal. So if they signed it for about 38 million plus add-ons, so whether the add-ons have been put on or not, I suppose it depends on. He's not been at the club ages, has he? So maybe it would be something similar. I've seen figures from like mid 30s to about 40, and maybe like with West Ham, maybe the price would go up a bit slightly if there's a bit more interest. Maybe West Ham could get 45 possibly, but I'd feel that's kind of about the best deal for a midfielder of that quality. I think that's pretty about the best deal out there at the moment. Niche fan, so you're thinking get Tonali plus Fernandez. I think Tonali's definitely somewhat on the list, but do you think it's going to be, say Tonali plus? Do you think it's going to be financially viable? That are they going to say? Are they going to want too much money for Tonali? So I did see this one. Do you know when like Jose Mourinho was linked to Real Madrid? And my first thought was, okay, he might be quite good, someone to go there. And I'm trying to think who are the main players when he was winning the league with Real Madrid. It must have been like Ronaldo and was like Bale there, Tony Cruz, Modric. I mean, the team has changed a bit. I'm just trying to think of the other ones like Busquets, and you've got who's the left back that was world class as well. No, it's different, isn't it? I think with Mourinho, I don't know, because I'd imagine Mourinho would come in. He would obviously have his favourite players. He would have players he likes, but I think with Mourinho again, he might move one or two players on anyway. So it might be that Mourinho decides that one of these players is going to be going. United so Dice says, yeah, I think if Jim's done the comments, Jim was saying the same sort of thing, saying good squad harmony. Most of these players at Madrid have way too much ego. I think that sometimes Real Madrid like they definitely did it 25 years ago. They had a team that wasn't as good as the individual players. So they had a lot of very good individual players, but the team kind of that maybe the cohesion, maybe the when you put them together, they didn't actually function that well. Because I've forgotten Zidane as well. You got Zidane and Figo, R9, Beckham, Roberto Carlos. You got a team of like superstars, but they didn't produce the results week in week out. But those players actually got on very well. So there was big egos there, but they actually got on very well, and there wasn't a lot of drama. But it just goes to show that if you spend massive and buy feasibly, you can buy the best striker, the best midfielder individually, but you need to shape a team. And I think Man United should be mindful of that. That if they think that too many fits the team and he's not going to be disruptive and it's not an ego issue, then it would be absolutely fine. If if there's a thought that he's going to come in and be disruptive, undo some of the positive stuff we've done over the last 6 months, actually probably last year, 18 months, then it would be that for me it would be quite risky. So yeah, it's a tricky one to call, isn't it? But no, but if you think it's maybe we'll find out more from the story and see. Yes, I saw that, Andy. I did think about that one. And like you're saying, love, passion on the pitch, someone that's going to dig in. Do you think there's there's too many? If you're thinking that this, does anybody question whether too many would be good in terms of football quality, like level of ability, or is it more a situation around like the Real Madrid drama? Is he part of the problem? Is that probably the consideration? Because there's been a lot of players that I think when a lot of players linked to Manchester United, there will be kind of stories about this. And I think one of the things I read about Cunha when Cunha was linked to Manchester United was people questioned his discipline, people questioned a few things about his attitude, and I think Cunha's attitude's been like spot on. So I think there was definitely questions and marks about that one for Wade. Oh, welcome, Mr. Agile Beast. It's been a while, Mr. Agile Beast. I did message you on the Discord. Hopefully, you still use that account. I did ask if you still used it, just to try and contact you, just to try and speak to moderators offline. But what are you thinking regarding this one? It says Galacticos never really worked. I think one of the things you can think about in terms of like if you're looking at this one, when we're mentioning Roy Keane then people look at Roy Keane in terms of somebody that worked very hard on the pitch, but also he had standards for everybody else on the pitch as well. And if you look at Manchester United's very best quality players, someone like Beckham, someone like Giggs, they tracked back relentlessly. Even like Giggs was in his mid 30s and he was still tracking back relentlessly to a level which some players recently didn't get near. And I think you do need to have a team of hard workers. And I think United have gradually got that where we've got someone like Acuna who will grind out, will put in the work. Or we've got people like Mbeumo, I think will put in maximum effort every match. Bruno Fernandes, you'll get maximum effort every match. And I think that's what we're seeing. Like Koumenu, you're going to get again a strong work ethic. I think you do need to have that across the pitch, and I think that's something that we haven't had maybe for a few years. So if we're looking at somebody like Tchouaméni coming in, then that's probably what you're going to be buying. So let's have a look at this one. So PSG is the most balanced team in the history of football. I don't know, niche like history of football. You could probably look at the Real Madrid team of like the 50s won 5 Champions Leagues in a row, and you got Dutch team that won a few Champions Leagues. You got the um, Bayern Munich team. I don't know if it's the most balanced team in the world. You could probably say the team that won 2 Champions Leagues for Barcelona was probably one of the best teams that we've seen in football. So Paris Saint-Germain are a very good team. Let's say if they can win like several Champions Leagues in a row, but the Real Madrid team won. I think let's say the Real Madrid team that had Beckham, that had Tony Cruz, Modric. You got elite defenders as well. So we'd have to see. We'd have to see. They have to win. They have to beat Arsenal, don't they? Which it feels on paper like they should be destroying Arsenal, but we'll have to see. You never know. Arsenal, they might surprise people, but it would be a surprise, I think, at this point in time, wouldn't it? So Real Madrid have said they're keeping him. He's not said by reports he wants to come. So this is another one we won't. Do you think we won't be getting him? If you use Twitter, you can try Twitter. That's fine for one. I'll post a link to the Discord and see if it works for you. But we'll see. Post that there. Just for people as well, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, then please do that. We're trying to push back towards 1K after restarting the channel this quite recently. But I'll post that. That's the United TV socials. If you're interested in joining the Discord or other groups, and if you want to get involved as well, some people have messaged me and said they'd like to get involved. If you would like to get involved, then that's something that we can look at as well. But we'll be doing a calling show. We've got something special planned for the weekend, which people can get involved in if they want to do that one. Preston Invincibles, yeah, the only Invincible team that went invincible in every domestic competition. Not like the Invincible team that Arsenal pretend they had, because they did lose quite a few games in other competitions. So if Arsenal do the double, they better not give the Ballon d'Or to Declan Rice. That would be massively annoying. Oh, I don't know. Thing is, like you look at it and say, well, if Bayern Munich had won everything, then Harry Kane's getting the Ballon d'Or. If Paris Saint-Germain win it, maybe Cavacheli gets the Ballon d'Or. Maybe he's an exciting player. Maybe he gets the Ballon d'Or. If Arsenal win it, then do you have to give the Ballon d'Or team to that's someone from the team that wins the Champions League? I mean, Man United won the Champions League in '99. We didn't get a Ballon d'Or winner then, did we? So I don't know if they're looking at it. The thing is that does Arsenal have a standout player that's you think is genuinely one of the best players in the world that you definitely want to sign? Then I don't know. It would be a bit underwhelming. But no, I thought Rodri was a bit underwhelming as a Ballon d'Or winner. I tend to go for players that 100% change every game, but I don't know. So Ryan says, I said months ago. So, okay, you said months ago. We'll see if this plays out because you're now kind of putting yourself in the limelight. Said I said months ago because I'm wrong most of the time, but I always had a prediction we will get a Real Madrid midfielder. Do you remember the stories that have been linked out so far over the last couple of months? We've seen Camavinga to Manchester United. We've seen Tchouaméni to Manchester United. I've seen like Valverde to Manchester United. I think some of these are definitely made up. I think the one with Tchouaméni is the only one where Manchester United actually seem interested. I mean, no one thinks we're going to get Valverde, and I think Camavinga had some injury issues which made it unlikely that we consider him. And when you look at the situation now, you just think, well, this is probably the one that Man United would be interested in getting. But we are looking at trying to get someone that's got the attributes that Casemiro had, and we're looking at most of them in this player. So it would make a bit of sense. But now, do you think it's going to happen then, Ryan? Do you think it would happen? No, we definitely dodged that one, didn't we? So say Camavinga was the one you had in mind. I saw Camavinga, and Camavinga seemed to be priced to sell, but I thought Camavinga seemed to be one of these players where I think he's got injury issues. I don't think it would have been the best option. I think we'd have been. I think if we'd have bought Camavinga, we'd have been disappointed. So I'm just going to check how many games Camavinga played, but I think if I'm right, Camavinga might have a bit of a say an issue that I'd be suspicious if Real Madrid want to sell a player. I'm genuinely suspicious. It's a bit like I'm going to be quite suspicious if Bayern Munich let any player go. Okay, so Camavinga, midfielder, sometimes plays left back, and look at him from Real Madrid. So Real Madrid, he's played, I suppose, the Liga games last couple of years, not so many. This season he's played 26, the year before 19, the year before that 31. A lot of Champions League games, which I suppose goes like without saying. So overall, I'd say he's had a bit of injury issues in the past. Um, Based on his age at the moment, if if Real Madrid want to move him on, I think it's because Real Madrid get a better offer. He is quite young. You're looking at 23-year-old. So he has taken part in 40 games this season, a lot in Europe though. I don't know. It feels a little bit like they have got a lot of good players at the club. I'd be more in favour of something like to compare with too many. The amount of games that too many's played, say the last couple of years, then in comparison to Camavinga, I'll just quickly look at the numbers. So also age-wise for Tchouaméni, 26 years old. So you're effectively getting a player in his prime. So he's going to cost quite a lot. But he's played a lot of football. So this season he's taken part in 46 games, 30 in La Liga. Last season, 32 in La Liga, 58 games in total, all competitions. And I think the season before, not so many games in La Liga, 27, but 38 overall. But then prior to that, he's going to play like over 50 games this season, 58 the year before. So I mean, he's playing a lot of football. So I don't think there's going to be significant injury issues with any of these players. The question is going to be, you know, if you're looking at Camavinga, he's missed a lot more games. Would it be, would it be worth? Is it worth a risk on Camavinga if he's a cheaper deal? I don't know. I'd be a bit concerned. Kate says, I didn't think it was possible to get too many, but with all this coming out, so it's very possible. So maybe I'll do a poll because I know people are quite positive about this deal, and they say we should try and get him. Like I think we should try and get him. Like whether we get him or not, I don't know whether we can get him. I think we should try. Um, so I'll put this one. So I'll put so I'll put a poll in the chat. Spelled it wrong then. Hopefully this is spelled correctly. So where will too many play next season? So I don't think there's going to be. Yeah, you probably got two options here, haven't you? I'll put other because I don't know. There is a very slight chance, but Real Madrid, put Man United, and then other just in case. I don't know if there's any other team linked to him. I'm not sure. I don't think there is, but Real Madrid, Manchester United. I'll put other option. So I don't know what to predict in this one. I would be amazed if we don't get some sort of strong indication either way quite soon. But if he stays at Real Madrid, then it's an indication that he's probably going to be next. No, if he stays at Real Madrid, then we're not going to get him. He's going to sign a contract extension, which probably ties him up for longer. The price will probably be astronomical. Um, Beast says Real Madrid might get Buwadi. They bought Naipan last year, didn't they? So Real Madrid do tend to also go for the next player. So too many being 26 is by no means old in football terms, but Real Madrid do have a track record of going for younger players and replacing players before they kind of hit any sort of like decline. So it might be that this is an indication that maybe they'll change their stance somewhat. Let's say what's too many valued at? And now it says cake. So apparently, and guessing, going by a couple of going by a couple of stories, then the estimated value is supposed to be about 70 to 80 million pounds. I think that's what people are thinking. His salary's not, his salary's obviously going to be quite big being at Real Madrid, but it's about £200,000 base, and it's maybe some extra on top of that in terms of I think there's a bonus for getting to the Champions, there's like Champions League bonus, which they must always get anyway. So I think overall it's maybe like pushing up to like 270 or something. So you'd imagine Manchester United would be able to pay £200,000 a week. If one thing that seems crazy, if you consider the base salary of too many, it's the same as Conor Gallagher's getting at Spurs. Like Conor Gallagher at Spurs is getting £200,000 a week. So if you're looking at giving too many £200,000 a week, plus like the bonus that every player is going to be getting from Man United to play Champions League football, it does seem to be like financially it's viable, isn't it? Like financially it's quite viable. Yeah. And Rob says there's no way he's coming to us, and I hope I hope Ryan's right, Rob. But we'll have to see, won't we? I'm not going to say it's likely. I'm just going to say it's. I don't know what Real Madrid do. If Real Madrid want to keep him, then they're probably going to have to offer him a big contract and maybe give him some sort of concessions where he plays. Does anybody know how much money we gain from third spot and also Champions League qualification? If we know the budget, we can guess who we buy. So, okay, based on finishing third this season, I can't remember the figure is. Somebody actually posted it recently about how much money you get from finishing in that position. But I think it's like 120 million or something like that. I think it is like it's a lot of money finishing in the Premier League. It's about wherever you finish in the Premier League. I think the lowest you get that the 20th team like Wolves, I think they'll get about 100 million from TV and everything, and I think you get about 3 million per position. So if you think about it, United are at least another 15 places above that. So I think it is something like that, or maybe it's a bit less than 100 if you're near the bottom, but I think it's like 120, 130. I think Manchester United might be one of the teams that, depending on how many games you're showing on TV, you might get slightly more as well. But if you're looking at Champions League money, Manchester United can enter the Champions League, lose every single match, and bank about at least like maybe like I think it's like £90 million for winning, just playing the games in the group stage. So if Manchester United win games, get through to knockout stage, you're probably looking at 100 at least. And then if you consider the Adidas endorsements, that goes up by 10 million as well by having the Champions League football. So it's going to be a lot of money. The difference between finishing 15th and third is what, 12 league positions. It's about, I think it's close to 3 million positions. It's about 30 million extra money than they would have got last year in league position, and then a 90 on top of that for, so it's like an extra 120 million. They do have to spend a bit more in salaries, but I think net you're still making over 100 million extra on last season. So if you consider like Arsenal and like Manchester United and teams that generally spend about 200 million pounds per transfer window, you could be looking at maybe being able to spend 300. Also, player sales as well coming in. I think Man United have got some debts to service. So if you're looking at, if you're trying to like balance the books, it's moving in the right direction. If Manchester United get Premier League football every single year for a few years in a row, then you can really start bankrolling your team. Like having one season of Champions League football, then dropping back out of it isn't going to be ideal because you're going to have your salary fluctuations. It's going to be like going up and down. But if you look at a situation where you can be like, in the top sort of few positions in the league every single season and have that Champions League money every single year, have the endorsements like and that are going up every single year, then it's going to be absolutely fine, isn't it? So it's going to be a positive thing. So I think that like financially, it's a massive shot in the arm getting Champions League football. If we get it again next year and the year after and become a guaranteed Premier League team, sorry, Champions League team, then suddenly it's going to make it difficult, isn't it, to fall out of it? So and Boadi seems like a future star, not Premier League proven, says RK. No, he's like was putting in world class performances as a 17-year-old. So he's on the radar, isn't he, of a lot of people. So for people that just joined, I've got a poll running in the chat that is a bit of a guess, like a bit of a guess of where what's going to happen regarding where does he go? That to us, if there was if there was an option that said I have literally no idea, I would probably be ticking that one. No, Boadi seems like the sort of like it's the next generation, isn't he? So I think Boadi is someone that you buy when you've got a good first team and you can look at the next generation of quality coming through. I think Boadi's definitely got a place in a lot of teams. The question is going to be if Manchester United are already investing heavily on 20, 21-year-olds and they see them as the future, would Boadi get enough games to develop like he is at the moment? And I think that's something that, no, he's only 18. Like for Boadi, the best thing for him would probably be to just play where he is, but it would be very difficult for his club to turn down significant money. It'd probably be difficult for him to turn down probably life-changing money if he moved as well. Yeah, no, I think okay, that's why when we were talking about this last year, when Manchester United lost to Spurs, it's a bit like losing a playoff match to get into the Premier League from the Championship. Because I think when you're in the playoffs to try and get from the Championship to the Premier League, it used to be like called one of the richest games of football, didn't it? And you could be looking at Nottingham Forest in that. If Nottingham Forest can get Champions League football next season, it's loads of money, isn't it? It might change what they're looking at in terms of how much they want for their players. Welcome, Elizabeth, to the chat. I think you've been generally the most optimistic for looking at too many as an option. Look at the Real Madrid situation. Then I think Paris Saint-Germain showed what can happen when you remove superstars, and they kind of bought players that then become superstars. I feel they bought a lot of good players that a lot of good players at Paris Saint-Germain. I'm not sure they paid insane amounts of money for each one. Kvaratskhelia was about what 59. Doué wasn't loads. I don't think Vintner was loads. If you're looking at who else do they get, but some of these players they put together, they've made a very good, very exciting younger team. I think it's and effectively they've moved on. They've moved on Neymar. They've moved on Mbappe. They've moved on all these players. So I think that what they've done is they've just constructed a team, haven't they? They've built a really good team, and Man United need to do the same sort of thing. If too many is one of the, if too many is more of a Galactico signing, um, then it would be disappointing. But I think there's definitely reasons to rate too many as a football player and think he brings loads to the table. Say no, we will make almost 100 million from finishing third and just for qualifying for Champions League, even if we lose every single match. And so we've got a further 180 million SRC. That's like the squad ratio. Is it squad ratio cap? But it's so you can only spend a certain percentage. If in European football, I think it's about seven. Is it 70% in European football? You can only spend 70% of your turnover. This is the sort of thing that really screws teams like Newcastle that have got wealthy owners, but they don't have the turn. They don't have the highest turnover. They don't have the endorsements. They don't have the sponsorship. They don't have the regular participation in the Champions League money coming in. So this sort of thing hits teams like Newcastle the most that have got the wealthy owners that aren't able to. This is kind of like why City seem to be cooking the books a little bit so they can spend more money on their squad. This is something that might actually ruin Chelsea. Like it might be something that's Chelsea have got loads of players on 8-year contracts. And you know how Chelsea keep refreshing their squad? I don't think they're going to be able to do that over the next couple of years because they've got players on big contracts that no one wants to buy. And I see Cole Palmer linked to Man United. There is no way we should be dropping over £100 million on Cole Palmer and helping Chelsea out. Now, if Cole Palmer's got another 6 years on his contract or 7 years, then I think he's too inconsistent to pay 120 or whatever they want. So I would be not interested in that deal. I know people like him, but I think that Chelsea want an unrealistic transfer fee for him. Like he says, you want someone like a Grafton Maverick in midfield, and you say too many is that guy. So a squad cost ratio. So for some reason, sometimes the comments refresh and I can't get them all. But I think let me just have a look at the comments on live stream. So now looking at too many, does he fit the bill in terms of like say Wizard Bet says too many would be a knockout signing, and now he would this be does this tick the box for best in class? Is this a best in class signing? Does this is this a best in class one? I say where's the better miss like a classic cake joke. I don't think I can go back to it. Can I go back to it? I might be able to go back to it, but oh maybe Kate can write. I don't think I can go back, but it was a classic joke. Say there is a slight variation in in the rules between the Premier League financial rules and European financial rules. That is true. There is definitely yeah, at the moment the Premier League's got more generous spending rules because they're bringing these rules in. So it does mean that if you've been competing in Europe and you're continue to compete in Europe, you have to meet slightly stricter rules financially. But if you're not, then it's not a problem. So that's yeah, that's a positive. And so also, yeah, I think this is a done deal, isn't it? This is agreed, I believe. So Rasmus Højlund, 38 million. That's pretty much a done deal, isn't it? As far as I know, I think that's going to be that. Maybe as soon as the season finishes, that'll be here we go, and that's money in the bank for Manchester United as well. I'd say there's no excuses for the Glazers to not spend big this season, says RK. If they pocket the money for themselves, say more fans need to join massive protests. If they're serious about actually trying to win something, or if they're serious about taking the club in a certain direction, they have to do this, don't they? This isn't something that you question whether you need to do it. That if you don't, then I think the Glazers have seen what happens if Manchester United are in the Champions League. If you drop out of the Champions League competition, it's actually worse than it was 10 years ago because the amount of money in the Champions League is getting more and more and more. If you don't get an invite to the Club World Cup, whether we like it or not, that's potentially quite a lot more money as well. If you're talking like Chelsea banked about 75 million from that competition, so for a pre-season training competition, there's very big money in that. So whether you will like these competitions or not, you have to be at the table, otherwise you're going to be financially penalised. So this is something that United have to look at as well. So with like the midfielders they got, you got too many Bellingham, Camavinga. Uh, this is what they have got at the club. So maybe what they're looking at is replacing him with someone else. So if too many leaves the club, maybe maybe they're looking at Rodri, maybe they're looking at Enzo, maybe they're looking at trying to get who's the other player they're linked to? Someone said what if they're looking at Buardi? They're looking at Angela Stiller. So Real Madrid are looking at a few midfielders, and if you look at the squad they've already got, then someone's going to have to go, aren't they? Like someone's going to have to go. They're not going to be able to keep all these players. I think Real Madrid wanted to. Like, I believe Real Madrid's strategy was we'll try and get Angela Stiller or we'll try and get Rodri, and we'll look at moving on Camavinga because he was like the one on the list. They thought they would be happy to move him on. And when you're looking at the situation now, I think Manchester United are thinking, yeah, let's look at trying to get too many. We're not interested in Camavinga, and maybe this training ground thing is something that you could be looking at as well. So does Rodri like the look of a Real Madrid move? Isn't Rodri out of contract? So does Rodri? This is probably a good question as well. Do you think Rodri goes to Real Madrid? Like if you're looking at that one, do you think Rodri goes to Real Madrid? It would be he would be available on a free, wouldn't he? That does seem to be the sort of thing that Real Madrid like to do. Could Real Madrid offer him more money than I suppose you would imagine that Real Madrid have probably genuinely got more money, whereas I don't know what's happening with this one. He's got a contract till 2027, so we're effectively hitting the last year, aren't we? So if he's got some value, this is the time, isn't it? So I think Real Madrid are thinking this is a good time to buy him. Maybe with like Man City, are they looking at giving him a big pay rise to keep him for a little bit longer? And maybe what they're looking at, yeah, maybe what they're looking at is trying to cash in a bit, possibly. I think when I'm seeing like the stories, I think that Man City want to keep him, but I'm not sure. Um, for people that watch Real Madrid, is there question marks over like United Dice says like you take too many, but only if he gives all for the badge. If not, then no thanks. What do people think about Tchouameni's work ethic? Because I think this is going to be something that Manchester United look at in terms of, and if you look at Tchouameni as someone that wins the ball back a lot, that's definitely, uh, from what I can see and when I've seen Real Madrid play, I don't see him as a passenger. I see him as like an elite player. I think we might be looking at him in the World Cup as well, potentially being, going very deep into that competition with his national team. So I think he's got to be someone. Some of the players that have come out from Real Madrid, whether they've been like ideal for us or whether they've worked really well, you haven't been able to question their professionalism. Like Casemiro is going to be going. He's got effectively nothing to play for. The bonuses that people get, the pay rises that people get for getting to the Champions League, Casemiro is going to be gone. So he doesn't really, he doesn't benefit from that. Performances have been absolutely fantastic. Wizabet says he's an elite signing, top 1% in the top five leagues for progressive passing. So remember, looking at these numbers, it's outrageous, isn't it? Like top 1% in all the leagues. So this isn't like, is he the best at Real Madrid? He's like the best in all the top leagues. And say, brilliant defensive anchor. Um, the numbers like, pretty much close to like 96% for duels, 95th percentile for forward passing. It is like you can't really find much of a no. If you're trying to find an issue, I mean, you probably have to say he knocked out Valverde. That's obviously a downer. But if you're looking at on the pitch, that's unbelievable. Um, if it was Mainu, no, well, I found this one that I was going to put this up to discuss. Yeah, there's a few. If it was Mainu and Bruno Fernandes fighting in United dressing room, one had to go, who would you kick out? Oh, this is a tough one, Cake. You picked like two of my favorite players. I see what you've done there. Honestly, I don't know. This is a tough one. I think if you're looking at it, then it's really difficult. But you'd probably have to go with like the younger player, I suppose. You got somebody that's going to be there for 10 years. Well, but it would be, to be honest, it would be very difficult. In the short term, you could definitely replace Khomeini with other players. It'd be very difficult to replace Bruno. So, Kate, I'm kind of not really answering your question, I think, because it's a difficult one, isn't it? Carter says elite work ethic and equally hard work without the ball. These are kind of the characteristics you want. If you look at the recent signings, then we get that from Embuemo. If Embuemo has a poor game, he's still pressing, he's still working, he's still tracking back, he's still putting in the shift, and he won't give up. And we see Cunha as well. Cunha will not give up. He will track back, he will fight, he will do whatever he needs to do. He'll do all the things that you want to see. Anything whatever it takes to win a game, Cunha will do that. And I think that's what you're getting. Like I think you get that from I think you get someone that won't give up, but I think with too many, you're raising the physical level. You're getting somebody that can do what Casemiro does in a lot of ways, but is more physical, is younger, it can play a couple of games a week instead of one. He's going to be someone that's going to be have the leadership as well. So I'm really positive. I said this. I'm really positive. Um, yeah, maybe you can do the maybe he can do the celebration that Wayne Rooney did, but it would be maybe interestingly, I was thinking, imagine if too many signs for Manchester United and then we play against Real Madrid. That would be interesting. So if you want, if he gets to play against Valverde, that would be quite fun to watch. So it's quite nice to get a bit of competition. But if Manchester United did manage to land too many, I hope we get Real Madrid because that would be honestly, something to look forward to. If you want to see a player up for the fight, that would be it. It's a bit like watching Mark Hughes play against Barcelona in 1991. When you got that player, that he would elevate his game in that one as well. So this feels like a party political broadcast on behalf of the Too Many campaign. It sounds like well, I'm just trying to go for everybody's comments, but there's a lot of positives out there as well. I saw that cake. Luke Shaw get injured watching that. So, and Wemmer and Cunha love United. They did before they joined. That's the point I'm trying to make. No, they did. That it's different, isn't it? I think with Mbeumo and Cunha, I saw Cunha doing that for Wolves though. Cunha was putting in work ethic week in week out for Wolves, and I saw Mbeumo doing that for Brentford. So I think we saw that already, and so too many widely regarded as a model professional, a workaholic approach, mental resilience. This is like I'm just sat here with like a clipboard going tick, tick, and going. Frequently plays with maturity, tactical intelligence, self-discipline. Yeah, these are all good things to hear, aren't they? And do you think anything? So, what do you think then? What do you make of this? Like, just so people like looking at the comments, you're saying readers are better, and obviously these are fantastic attributes and non-football attributes that are obviously very very useful to the work environment. How do you feel about the story that's happened tonight? Then, how do you feel about the situation? Because just to go back to it, they have had a serious fight. We've got Valverde going to hospital in a wheelchair, cracked his head open apparently. Apparently, the reason is that that Valverde just wouldn't let it go, and they had a bit of an altercation on the pitch where I think that too many put in a hard tackle. Valverde didn't like it, and it escalated and escalated, and then apparently Valverde wouldn't let it go, and then too many snapped, and then I don't know what he did exactly, if he just punched the guy or pushed him out, whatever happened, he fell and hit his head, and he's going to miss the next game. He's going to miss the Classico, and both players are going to get some disciplinary action, which is going to be the biggest that Madrid can hand out. So I'm guessing like fines, suspensions, but it's a bit of embarrassment for the club, isn't it, to have to get to this level? It's something that I'm sure it's happened loads at other clubs, but because it's got the medical issue, yeah, I'm sure that this would have happened at Carrington. But if someone fell and hit their head on concrete or something, then you'd have that shit. They've gone to hospital. Now there's going to be some sort of punishment handed out. But I'm just wondering what you're thinking about this. I'd have to see. I don't think I know any Real Madrid content creators to find out a Real Madrid angle, but maybe that's something I should look into. I need to get in contact with the Juventus guy I know to find out some of the stuff that's happening at that club. But Cake said, I'd love to know how the real fans feel about this incident. That would be something to that'd be interesting. I think with the Real Madrid fans, that I've seen this massive Mbappe poll. People must have seen the Mbappe poll, and I'm just wondering whether that's been hijacked by rival fans. That if you see this one, and if you see get Mbappe out of Madrid, then I'm betting like if there's like 12 million votes or 20 million, whatever it is, I wonder how many are actually Real Madrid fans, and how many are Barcelona fans, how many are Manchester United fans just piling on, just thinking, yeah, well, let's get Mbappe out of that club. It's, yeah. So too many's on 259 a week. I think some of that's like bonuses for Champions League. So I'd imagine that I'd imagine that if you gave too many, like you have to be realistic, don't you, and say that he's going to be on a bigger contract than Mbeumo and Cunha because he's coming from Real Madrid. If you're looking at paying him that sort of amount, I don't think it's I don't think you're looking at sort of crazy money here. If you're looking at in pounds, I think if you're looking at like 250k a week, then there'll be some bonuses. I think United will pay that. Like I don't think you can sign world class players and then pay them the same as players that are not not as good. Um, Amrabat was termed a workaholic, addicted to training. I don't know. Amrabat was like used in a lot of weird ways, wasn't he? So yeah, and what looking at to take a rational view of the unwanted noise, it does feel like Valverde was the protagonist, kept baiting too many into response. It looks bad for the players. It looks bad for the club, and it's probably avoidable. But no, I agree. Jim saying, yeah, I think Phil Jones used to have that, didn't he? Yeah, it's better than being injured though, Jim. He's injuring other people, hopefully not our own people. Maybe this would be something good as well. If you've got too many in your club, this would be good for strikers. If strikers at our club have got to deal with too many who's world class, then that could be good as well. That would be a boost to the sort of training as well. United side Dice says our last signings haven't gone above 200k in terms of salary. I know that's true. I think you're just buying players that weren't going to. If you're buying a world class player from Real Madrid, they're going to cost a bit more than the best players from Brentford and Wolves. So I think you're going to have to start paying those sort of salaries eventually. It's if you're looking at how much you're going to pay, if Manchester United were linked to, if Man United got Elliot Anderson, you'd have to pay him a big salary. If Man United got Semenyo, you'd have to pay him quite a big salary. And if Manchester United want too many, you're going to have to pay quite a big salary. I don't think you can get these players for. People aren't coming to Manchester United for a pay reduction. Maybe we don't pay like over the odds, but you're going to have to pay quite a bit. So the only issue of concern is how has he recovered from his foot issues last year. No, hopefully they have like stringent medical for that one. He has played a lot of football this season, which is a positive. Be it to you, Zunan. Good to see you in the chat. Let's see. So as a rough guide salaries, what 180 for Cunha, 150 from Buemo, Sesko 160. No, it's a level up, isn't it? I think if you're going to go for Sesko, you're looking at somebody that's going to be better in the future, but too many is just for me. It's just like if United got Valverde, he'd cost more. I think it's just going to be a nature of like the experience. I think if you look at quality and experience, then I think the salaries are going to be. If you're looking at some of the salaries we're handing out, those are good contracts, aren't they? They're still good contracts for those players. I don't think we're overpaying. I think you'd have to look at it and say, is this true? Like Lamon's on 60k a week. I think Dorgu's on about 30 to 50, isn't he? Was it 30 last year, 50 this year? So I think some of the contracts coming in because if Dorgu comes in as a left back from Lecce, he's not going to be on the same sort of money as someone that comes in as one of the best central defensive midfielders in the world. You just going to have to spend a lot of money on that one. They say, what's new about too many? They say, I think, have you not seen the story, Mizunin? It's like pretty much everywhere about too many has put Valverde in hospital. They're both going to get massive disciplinary action from Real Madrid. And Manchester United are kind of the story that broke the same time is Manchester United have actually made a formal approach to too many and his people and to speak to him to see if he's interested. So this is from where all the drama that's happening from Real Madrid's side, the Manchester United side is we're just going to speak to too many and see if he wants to come. If he doesn't want to come, then yeah. So Aiden Heaven is on 25k. Yeah, so don't forget though. Don't forget that saying it's cheap. Okay, it is cheap, but Aiden Heaven was signed as an academy player, so he was an academy player. Manchester United signed him. I believe we might have quadrupled Aiden Heaven's salary, according to Arsenal fans that were angry at the time. So Aiden Heaven was getting paid very little when he was in the academy, but we'll say very little relatively. It's a massive salary for like people that age normally, but now he's getting 25k a week because say it's peanuts, but he's an academy player, so it's kind of like that's probably fair. And Aiden Heaven is one of these players that, if he plays for Manchester United regularly for the first team, in a couple of years' time, he could be getting a co-Mani sort of contract. So again, there's no way that you're going to buy an academy player and put them on 150k, but you're going to put them on this sort of contract. When they prove themselves in the first team and step up, then then they get a mass. So I think Man United's wage structure does make a lot of sense. So it does make a lot of sense, which is a positive. So Tyrone says you're scouting Elliot Anderson, loves to dribble in the centre of the park, not worth 100 million, says Tyrone. I think he's a very good player. I think he's one of the best players out there that we've been linked to. I think the money's too much. I'm not sure that there's going to be. I think in modern football, I'm not sure there's a player that's worth levels above that sort of price point. So the thing is that I think a lot. So we've got so many midfield targets. I don't think there's like some that are outrageously better than others. So if we were talking about the '90s and somebody said, right, we're going to buy a midfield player and we're linked to Zidane, I'd be like, break the bank. He's worth it. He's an elite world class player. And if you looked at some players in the Premier League, like a Lampard, a Roy Keane, there's certain players that are just levels above other players that in terms of what they bring to the club. I'm not sure with Anderson. Like he's very good, but I don't think that you can. If you miss out on Anderson, I don't think suddenly you can never get a player that's like Anderson again. That I think you can get good midfielders, and I think the prices are a bit crazy. How do you feel about too many Tyrone as an option? Lucky's like saying you're hoping. Let's find this. Let's put this comment up. You're hoping that we get too many. You're hoping that Real Madrid buy Rodri and Enzo Fernandez. So yeah, Enzo Fernandez, it's possible that Chelsea might need to sell players. And I did see that. I think Wisdom better said this to me, or somebody else said this to me that there is going to be. What is this? That so yeah, there's a couple of rumors flying around. The one I was going to talk about was that there's a rumor that Chelsea are deliberately tanking because they can't afford the squad rate cost ratio of European football. That's one thing. Cake said there's a rumor that Valverde slept with Tchouameni's wife. Well, missed it. I have no idea about that. This is not really something I've heard before, but bloody hell, is this like a Wayne Bridge, John Terry situation? Is this just like a rumor you're starting, or if this is like a something that's happening? But wow, okay, this is you look at like drama unfolding and think that. Do you remember last year? It's like Manchester United had all this drama about people leaking stuff to the press. We had the bomb squad. We like finishing 15th, and everything's a shambles. We've kind of got a house in order, and it feels like things are going a lot better. But um, welcome, Boomy, to the chat. You've joined at a bizarre point where Cake's like putting. Cake, you need to give me some sort of sauce. If you got some sauce on that, let me know because that's an interesting one. So Timony's great. I'm worried about injuries, but if we get Gibbs White, then him, yes, says Boomy. Yeah, Gibbs White's been talked about a little bit. Is Gibbs White the guy that got the injury recently? Like, is he the one that had the stitches? And so I remember thinking, yeah, well, I didn't see the game, but there was someone that had like a load of stitches across like I think it's like the middle of their face. Looked pretty bad. Welcome to Hexion again to the chat. And say, look at it this way: too many, no major disciplinary issues or public fights in his career at Monaco or Real Madrid until now. I suppose you'd have to add at the end. Um, no, yeah, it could be like a one-off. Everyone's got their breaking point, I would say. Let's say question: why too many? Why not ask Valverde as well? Apparently, Valverde was like angry that he thought too many had leaked like information about the issue last night. So I think that's where this kind of like escalated on. I think that too many he thought too many had been like leaking this to the press, which I don't know if there's any truth in that at all. But there's clearly something happening at Real Madrid that's definitely that there's players turning on each other. So it would feel a little bit like someone needs to leave the club. But now, what do you make of this, Mickey? Would you take too many, or do you feel like some of this drama's like made it a bit that put you off a little bit? So I would rather. I get the feeling that Manchester United are somewhat like in terms of what Man United have been trying to do over the last 18 months. I would probably say that we have been doing a bit more PSG over Real Madrid. Like we have been going for younger players. If you think of like Dorgu, Aiden Heaven, for example, maybe what we've done is we've gone players that are a little bit less experienced than like PSG have bought good players, but they haven't been like a Galacticos. They've been a bit more advanced than players that we've been buying. But maybe we do need to get one or two players in already because we have a I would say we got a worse starting point than PSG had, and we need to try and build that up quite quickly. So Paris Saint-Germain, they definitely had a lot of money coming in from top players leaving and a lot of salary room to expand. But also, yeah, there's an incentive to go to Paris Saint-Germain initially because you're going to win a league title, you're going to win trophies, you're going to get paid quite a lot. So they had a few ways of actually getting people in there. So I think it's going to be quite tricky as well. Okay, yeah, I thought it might be fake news, Cake. It just seemed to be like too much of a crazy one as well. So I'd offer 100 million for too many and Camavinga. So maybe how much rumors I've seen is that Camavinga would be available for about 50 and too many would be 70 to 80. So I think Real Madrid would definitely sell you Camavinga, but too many probably needs to actually ask to leave, I think, if you're looking at that. But no, it's say Elliot Anderson not worth it. No, do people think that is Elliot Anderson worth 100 million pounds? Like if you watch him play, is he worth like Forest valuation was about 125 million, and my question about that was 125 million is like for me it's too much money. If you're looking at if Camavinga is genuinely say 75, say as an example, and if you're looking at say Fernandez, like the Fernandez situation for me is very intriguing because this seems more positive than anything I've read recently, and it's that Manchester United in talks with Fernandez. This is what they've been saying, and Fernandez is open to join Manchester United, and it looks like that he would give the green light to United, and it's kind of only dependent really on West Ham getting relegated. So if West Ham get relegated, I think we should look out for this as being something that happens quite quickly. Not just Manchester United, though, as well. There will be other clubs, but maybe Manchester United are positioning themselves in a way that if Fernandez comes out and says, I'm happy to join Man United, we can get this deal done. This would be quite a good first deal. But I think most people would look at this and go, that's quite a good first deal because it gets a player in that's a good player. But if you look at then getting him in at a sensible price, I think is a good option as well. So Elliot's worth 75. So I rate Elliot's, yeah, I think he's a good player. It's a lot of money, isn't it? A lot of money. Welcome, Luca. So realistically, yeah, I think realistically, like Cavashelia cost 59. You could say he's worth a bit more than that one. I would say, Luca, I remember you saying that Isak would be a bad signing for Newcastle. So I don't know. I might have to disagree with you that this one. You're saying that Fernandez is not a good player. That you might be the first person I've heard that has that view. I would say at the moment, I think he's like potentially one of the best deals that you could get. You don't want to sign too many after what he did to Valverde. And so, what do I make of talking to Fernandez for about 4 to 6 weeks? They've been talking about him. I think that things take time, don't they? That things that some of these deals we're talking about, but by the time you actually find something significant happening, I think a lot of people think that some clubs move quicker, whereas in reality, if you remember some of the deals we're talking about, Benjamin Sesko had Arsenal. Arsenal were trying to buy Benjamin Sesko for about 2 years. Manchester United were continually monitoring, trying to buy Sesko again for about 18 months. I think when you look at players like Dorgu, Chelsea were looking at Dorgu for about I think about 9 months as well. And these players are being regularly looked at. So when it starts coming to serious talks, there will be initial contacts of agents. There will be like a few things taking place, but it takes a bit of time. So it will be gradual. So Manchester United have probably been talking to a few players, and then gradually news breaks out that I think this one's like been broken recently, and it's saying that United's like 4 to 6 weeks in talks with Fernandez. A lot of it comes down to what's going to happen in the Premier League this season. Like there's still a lot to play for in terms of European football. There's also a lot to play for in terms of who gets relegated. Say like a month ago, it maybe looked like 6 weeks ago. I'm guessing that West Ham will probably be in the relegation zone then. Then recently they came out of it, and then now they're back in it. But I think everybody's been thinking that if West Ham get relegated, which is it's kind of looked likely for most of the season, then there's a few players that are extremely likely to go. And general speculation is if these players go, then get relegated, then they're going to be cheaper. They might be a little bit cheaper, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think that West Ham will be selling players for a ridiculously cheap price. They got to still. They're still going to have a certain value. There's still going to be significant competition to get Fernandez because the teams looking at Fernandez at the moment include Liverpool. They include Paris Saint-Germain. Manchester United might be trying to put in some groundwork, but these are big clubs, aren't they? If you're Fernandez, where do you go? Like if you got an option from Liverpool, an option from Manchester United. I think a year ago, Manchester United is not in the table. There's no way we're considered. At the moment, though, we are considered because we can offer him first team football. We've got Champions League. Paris Saint-Germain is an interesting one because they've got a fantastic team. But would you actually get many games there? It's genuinely tricky, isn't it? Evening to you, Randy. Good to see you tonight. I say Declan Rice won the conference for. Declan Rice was an outstanding player for West Ham. Really good player. Um, could Anderson do that? I would say that Anderson's playing well, but you got to give credit to. There's a few Forest players that have been playing very well recently. I've been quite impressed with Forest. That lots of people at Forest have been stepping up. So Forest were in a relegation fight until about maybe like 3 games ago, and then they blitzed Burnley. They completely dismantled, like completely annihilated Sunderland, who were thought to be giving them a bit of a tough game, and they've looked really good. Didn't they? Did they batter Chelsea recently as well? I mean, everybody's battering Chelsea recently, but I think Nottingham Forest had just put it on like a few wins back to back. I'm not sure the score tonight, but they might get through to the Conference League final. Good luck to them if they do that, and that would be great. But it would be, quite. I think it's difficult to like compare teams. I think West Ham was definitely Declan Rice was the most important player, but that's kind of been the benchmark, isn't it? But saying Fernandez works in midfield three once Bruno leaves when we go to 4-3-3. However, could be bringing him in as a utility midfielder while Bruno is here. I think he's definitely one for the. How old is he? Is he 21 years old? Like, is he about 21, 22? And you're looking at maybe, Manchester United, we might be playing 4-2-3-1 at the moment, but like you said, wood is the better. Manchester United might be bringing in midfielders with an idea that at some point they're going to be looking at getting a squad that maybe is going to be playing 4-3-3. So it does seem that Man United might have one eye on the future a little bit as well. So maybe over the next sort of, I suppose it depends how long Bruno's going to be in the club for. Well, thank you, Boomy. I did remember like something on those lines because fantasy football teams were cashing in on like Forest players. No, they hammered them as well, hammered them. Cheers, Luca. I appreciate you tuning in. What's your thoughts on these midfield players? Because I think there's been a few stories looking at, you're an Arsenal content creator, so you must be looking at some of the stories with like Tonali being linked to Arsenal since January. And there's always, obviously, Arsenal will be linked to players as well. If you win the Champions League or you win the league, then clearly the next aim is going to be make sure you try and be as competitive again next year. It's tricky, isn't it? Think when you win, you got to keep building. And I think with Man United, it feels like we've got some momentum, like getting to the Champions League. We need to make sure we keep building for this one. And you want Tonali, interesting. You are half Italian or completely Italian, Luca? Because I know you support Italy. I don't know whether you were from Italy or whether you got Italian parents and born over here, but I know you've got definitely Italian influence in you, Luca. I know you're pretty gutted that they didn't, so maybe. But I think tonight is a good player. I think from Man United fans, we're kind of divided a little bit on whether we think he's going to be ideal. Big up to you, Gregory. Shall I just I'll do a quick recap for people that tuned in recently because I know there's a couple of people that tuned in and they didn't realize about the crazy drama that unfolded. So I was actually this is not my drama. I was unable to do streams this morning because I just had some other things going on. But there's a few people that had a lot more things going on. One of them's one of them's Valverde because Valverde was having a visit to hospital, and one of them was too many because he was having chats with Manchester United, but also putting Valverde in hospital. So there's been a lot of things happening over in Madrid, which are interesting this side from my United perspective. I'm kind of laughing a bit because it's they're ridiculous, but they have a fight. It escalates. I think it might be one of these things that's it probably sounds worse than it actually was because of him falling in a certain way and hitting his head. But it's clearly an issue where about 10 days ago, I was talking about Man United interest in too many. And this might come from, is it Andy Mitten that was saying that don't rule out that? I think Andy Mitten, the journalist, was saying don't rule out that one. Like don't rule it out because you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that behind the scenes there was this underlying feeling that like too many was dissatisfied with how he's being used at Madrid. So there's definitely I think to take a serious point, there was definitely before this happened, there was definitely a thought that too many was getting a bit annoyed by how he's been used at Madrid. And then this, for instance, like no, this is like obviously bad, isn't it? Because like the when someone has a head injury, okay, and concussion or something like that. Like we don't know what's happened, so I don't want to speculate on what's happened. But it's clearly something that's obviously it's going to take a lot of resolving because I don't think I can't think off the top of my head any sort of cases of this happening before. Um, apparently, from what I read, and in terms of this one, that apparently it was kicking off a bit in the training session, and Valverde kept putting in rough tackles on too many because of something too many had done earlier in a training session. So then the manager did put too many and Valverde on the same team to try and diffuse it a little bit, and that didn't really work. And Valverde just kept going and going, and so I think the manager tried to do something, but ultimately they're all grown, they're all adults. Ultimately, the manager can't. What can he do? Like if it carries on and carries on, the manager maybe he tried to do something, but it didn't work, and now they've got a situation where I don't know. Apparently, Valverde refused to shake too many's hand, so it seems to be a little bit from one side. So I don't know. It looks pretty bad for both of these players, doesn't it? It looks bad for too many because of what's happened to Valverde. It looks like Valverde's been an instigator, which again doesn't look great. I think from Man United's point of view, I just thought too many was an excellent target a week ago. I still think he's a very good target. It's just like crazy, isn't it? Um, so let's be honest with this. with this embarrassment Valverde has experienced, he's never forgiven too many, especially because the media are making fun of him. It might be that do people do people think like I kind of think that you've probably got a fair point here. Do you think that the situation is going to be that like too many wanted to leave because he was being used as a centre back for a lot of the season? And I was thinking, you know, I was kind of like laughing a little bit, thinking, can you imagine if Manchester United got him and then used him as a centre back? And I was thinking, no, we won't do that. But you know, if he does actually play as a centre back in one game, just an example, you know, when we to use had to use oh, what's the name? Mazraoui had to play there for one game. Yeah, if you're looking at one or two games, then it's fine. But you know, they used him for a lot, and then you're looking at that situation and they go, yeah, okay, right. But if you're going to do it for a significant amount of the season, then it's a bit of a problem, isn't it? I need a Spanish correspondent. I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your feedback. I need to make a few contacts. That's true. I do have I have to find it. There was like someone called like what's it called? They renamed the channel, so I will have to find them again. But there was a Juventus fan that I think when we were talking about Sancho to Juve, possibly who was it that was going to come the other way? There was possibly going to be a swap deal with maybe Vlahovic or somebody else. But yeah, no. Okay, if you know a Real Madrid channel that no, like a channel that you think could be sensible that they're going to be they're probably going to have to be English speaking. I'll have to say that as well because if they come on and speak in Spanish, I think we well maybe some of us be okay, but I think a lot of us would be in trouble. But I did know an English speaking good Italian content creator that would be quite good for anything in that league. So maybe I could look into that one as well. I'll say last season I wanted Tonali. This season I want Belieber, says Randy. You might still get your wish, Randy. You might still get that one. I think Man United has still got. Don't be put off by me doing a lot of positive stuff about too many tonight. We're trying to do a different stream every single time and cover different players. So tonight is too many's time. I was going to say I can't really say too many's time to shine because of what's happened, but you know, he's in the spotlight today for footballing reasons and other reasons. It seems unfortunately for him. But you might be you might not be disappointed if you want Tonali and Belieber. If you still want Tonali, they're both on the list at least, so you got a chance. And Man United keep saying they want Premier League players, so again, yeah, you got a chance. Either way, I think if we actually get three midfield players signing, then yeah. I would say it's just a question. I say, am I concerned about too many? Do I think he might be trouble and best to avoid it at Man United? I would say from what I've read, what I've heard, what I've seen, I think too many. This is like a one-off isolated incident where he tried to avoid it, and he was trying to shake hands. He was trying to like make the peace with Valverde. Valverde was not interested, and I get the feeling that Valverde would be that have a lot of clout at Real Madrid. So if if Valverde no is not interested in making the peace, then I think too many uh, might be moved out. So we've seen like this happen with other Real Madrid superstars that usually it comes from the manager, but if the players fall out with somebody, he's going to go. I don't know the dynamics of the dressing room, but I imagine that Valverde is going to have a lot of influence in that. Anyway, he's like one of the best players, one of the key players. So yeah, so he baited him for 2 days. It's a bit embarrassing for Real Madrid, isn't it? If anything, and it does go to show that they got an issue there, like they got a discipline issue at the club, and that's something that I'm mindful Man United need to avoid that. But yeah, I would say yeah, I would say don't worry about the issue because it's probably one of these things that there's probably a lot of fights, a lot of training grounds, and this is my point before. There's a lot of fights in a lot of clubs, and it's just really unfortunate that he's fallen on the surface, which has caused him an injury, and that's why we're talking. That's why it becomes more serious. When it's a training ground fight, people are just like laughing it off, but when it becomes someone going to hospital, then obviously it's going to be considered a lot more serious. But no, Real Madrid have got issues with this one. I think this is one where I don't see too many putting pen to paper anytime soon for an extension. So I think Man United can afford to kind of like concentrate on other deals and just see what happens. Gregory says if Madrid want to sell too many to United, then great. I get the feeling that too many would want. I think too many would actually be. I sent you the link to a Real Madrid channel, 25K subs, English, obviously. You found them. So, no, good work, Kate. Good work. I'll get you on board as like a as a contact recruiter. So I'll see. I might message that guy and see then if we can get him on. The thing is that a lot of content creators are going to be quite busy as well. I'm guessing if he's a Real Madrid content creator, he's going to be, um, yeah, have a lot of material to discuss at the moment. But no, cheers for that, Kate. I appreciate that. Yeah, no. So too many trying to shake. Yeah, exactly. This has been like a debate on like who's responsible for the fight as much as it's been like how good a player is too many. Do people see as a general point, if people look at the midfield, do we consider that potentially Man United are looking at three midfielders that maybe play as a 4-3-3 in I don't know like a couple of years time? And is that something we're looking at as well? That we're looking at maybe playing a different shape? I think if we're looking at next season and we're assuming that Bruno Fernandes stays, we're assuming that Manu stays. I think that too many fits into that team quite nicely. I actually think that Belieber fits into that team okay as well. And if we're looking at other players like Fernandez, I think Fernandez actually works quite effectively. As I'm guessing, is he going to be like a backup more? Is he going to if he's open to join Manchester United? I guess like one of the things we can offer him is going to be definitely some Champions League football. Definitely, we're hoping to have like some domestic cup runs. I'm guessing like United's heritage is generally trying to pick up trophies every couple of years anyway. So I'd imagine that would be they're quite tempting. I'd imagine like the danger for that one's going to be Liverpool getting interested, which you can never write off Liverpool. So maybe stream time tonight. I don't want to be very late. So if people got some questions, then yeah, don't forget to click the like if you haven't done that. Just to sends YouTube a little message that you've enjoyed the discussion about too many and the a couple of things that we've been talking about tonight. So, and I think if we're trying to guess what my United strategy is, it does seem to be that with the bets. I think we're going to transition to a 4-3-3. All this talk of a left winger as well. I think we are looking towards that as well. I think overall though, it feels like our squad maybe needs like more width in the attack. We bought a lot of tens, looking at maybe people that naturally cut inside a little bit more. I think natural width is something that maybe sees like Dorgu actually get into the team a little bit more instead of Cunha sometimes. But I think Cunha's too good not to be in the team a lot. So I think that could be something quite exciting as well, couldn't it? It could be trying to work out where do you think like where's the current squad fitting in this team in 4-3-3? It's maybe next time we do a stream together, we'd do better. If we're doing a discussion about about the squad, maybe at the end of the season we can look at how do the transfers coming in, how do they fit into a 4-3-3 compared to a 4-2-3-1. I think at the moment, looking at our squad, the 4-2-3-1 did fit quite nicely with the players who got available, and to give you a couple of bench options. So I think at the moment our squad fits that shape quite nicely. But I think obviously we're going to transition a little bit over. Yeah. So no, that's I think that in a way, I'm kind of positive that some of the things we're trying to do actually make sense in terms of what we're trying to achieve as a club and how we're trying to move the club forward. So I think there's definitely a lot of positives regarding the transfer in that regard. There does seem to be, if you look at the strategy and then look at it in terms of what's been regularly said by Wilcox in terms of what formation he prefers, and looking at the players we're scouting, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? The one thing that doesn't make sense is we're looking at a squad that fits 4-2-3-1 and maybe a move in the direction of playing like more 4-3-3. And then you look at the appointment of Ruben Amorim and think, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen here. Um, I think most people in the UK. Are you in the UK, Mark? I don't know where most people live, but I think if you live in the UK, you're not going to want to see Arsenal win stuff, are you? Um, who will benefit if we get Anderson? Well, obviously Manchester United will benefit. I'm guessing Forest will benefit financially, but they'll have to spend a lot of money. I've said this a lot of times. Actually, if we get too many, does that mean we don't get Anderson? It would feel unlikely, wouldn't it? It would feel quite what's the word? It would feel quite unrealistic to try and sign. I don't know. What do people think then? Is there any sort of chance we go for just two midfielders but spend a huge amount of money on them? I would suggest it looks a little bit like no, saying yeah. Someone else earlier said that Anderson having a bad game. Then a nice one, Mark. Do you get to go to games or you don't, or you a season ticket holder or no? So I know JR is in the comments quite often. He's a season ticket holder, so sometimes I get quite good information because sometimes it's just different watching games live, watching the because you get to see a bit more of the team shape, a bit more of what's happening off the ball. But he was quite positive about Anderson. Take McGinn over Anderson, you'd save a lot of money. You'd save a bit. Now, McGinn's a good player. There's definitely, I think Aston Villa have got they're well organised, aren't they, as well? Why does, hmm, I don't know. I don't know. There must be some reason which I'm not aware of. But I remember this is like a long-standing thing as well, isn't it? I don't know. It's like why does I believe Gary Lineker's son supports Man United because I remember I'm sure I saw him sat in the ground in like 1998, 99 or somewhere around then, and he was celebrating when Man United were beating them. So I think I don't know what the reason is. So yeah, if Villa win, maybe is, maybe is. I don't know. Does this, my question for like you, Kate, then, does this make you more positive? Like you were a bit negative about the window. Do you feel like it's you would you people be a bit more enthusiastic? Who improves Elliot Anderson as a football player, Pep or Carrick? Hmm, I don't know. I think it depends, doesn't it? That if you're looking at it's put if you get into the team, I think it can go either way. I would say with Pep, it could be an extreme. You could be working there with a good tactical manager that does do a few different things, but if you go to Pep Guardiola's team, sometimes you don't get in the team much for a year. And then there's no guarantee you get in the team a lot either. So I don't know. Michael Carrick, it's not just Pep, is it? It's going to be the coaches. And with Michael Carrick, it's not just him. It's going to be the coaches. I think it's. I think at the moment it's difficult to say. I think Michael Carrick seems to have improved a lot of players, but again, you can give some credit to Carrick, but you'd also have to give credit to defensive coaches that have worked with Aiden Heaven. So it's no, with Pep Guardiola, he's not going to be doing all the coaching either. So he'll have other good coaches with him. That's as I predict a good summer. So I'll close the poll in a second, but it looks a bit like, yeah, maybe Pep will leave anyway. And maybe Anderson goes there for crazy money, and then maybe that means Rodri leaves, and then maybe too many comes to Man United, and maybe too many actually has a better season than Anderson. So I think Anderson's our top target, but it doesn't mean that he's going to be the best player we can buy. So let's go to the poll, and we're going to find the results. So I didn't know what people were going to vote for. So okay, you're a bit optimistic, but this could be. This one well, I'm not going to be negative. So thanks everybody that's voted in this poll. Make sure if you did vote as well, don't forget to click the like on the stream. Where will too many play next season? So Manchester United, 56% of the vote, Real Madrid, 32% of the vote, other 12%. Okay, my question is going to be if he voted other, where's he going to go? Like, if he's not going to go to Manchester United, where does too many go? I'm just trying to think who's looking for a. Like, is there other teams in the Premier League that would get him? I don't know. I don't know who Harry supports. Well, honestly, no idea. Villa always bound to win this one. Emery's a serial winner in Europa. No, he does do that. He does. No, he has got a very good record in there, hasn't he? Be up to you, broken verdict. Welcome to the chat. Sometimes this kind of refreshes the comments in a bit of an erratic way when I'm looking at it to be able to put them on the screen. So if I miss a comment you think is like a good one or works with what we're talking about, then please please repost it, and I'll try and use them. I say, I wonder if Liverpool will be in for too many. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Um, yeah, I would say that based on like recent form, Man United's players have actually been quite good since January. Like picked up more points than most teams. So I think too many will. Maybe too many will raise the bar in terms of what we're expecting. Yeah, it'd be quite nice if they got rid of that, wouldn't it? I'd say too many plus Tonali would be nuts. I think it's too expensive. I can't see that. I think when you're looking at these signings, and I know everybody's enthusiastic, but I think if you look at too many plus Tonali plus Anderson, I think Manchester United realistically only buy one of those players. Like I think if Manchester United buy too many, I don't think we're going to be buying. Like I don't think there'll be any money to get Anderson or Tonali. They're going to be too expensive. I think we might be looking at a few. I think maybe it's like if like you're watching a race and there's like a front runner, then it comes down to the home straight and someone comes up from nowhere and suddenly wins. Is like someone like Fernandez going to be that guy? Is Fernandez going to be the under the radar? We have Belieber, we have Wharton, then we have Belieber in front, then we have like people talking about Tonali, people talking about too many. Who else have we been talking about? Alex Scott's been talked about. People want Joe Gomez and Hackney. Then suddenly like the last kind of month, I think it's been people start talking about Fernandez. And interestingly, I've not heard anyone, apart from Luca, who joined earlier in the stream, I've not had anyone say anything negative about Fernandez. He's been one player that when he comes up for discussion, people just go, yeah, we should get like he's actually good. He's going to be like quite a cheap price. He's not going to cost too much money, and people just look at it thinking, no, Fernandez is a good option. He's a quite cost effective option. And the only thing that's kind of spoilt it a bit is for us to get Anderson. So for us to get, let me just put the picture back on. The only thing that spoils it a bit from a Man United perspective, or from my perspective, is the only way we get Fernandez is by Spurs avoiding relegation. So that's the only shame. I think he's a good player, and I'd like to see him at Manchester United, but I would also like to see Spurs get relegated. But I'd have to be honest and say I'd rather Man United actually got Fernandes. So yeah, like Tyrone, I'm kind of torn a bit, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm kind of swaying 50-50, but then I go right. Actually, I want Manchester United to improve more than I want Spurs to get relegated. So as much as it's great to see Spurs go down, because I've never, like, I don't think any of us have ever seen Spurs get relegated, have we? But no one's. I don't know when it was they got relegated. Then I'd like to get Fernandez. I think he's good. But yeah, they got the thing also is we're going to watch them play against. So this could be bittersweet. We could watch Arsenal play West Ham. If West Ham win, then no, we get to see Arsenal lose, which is quite good. If Arsenal win, then at least maybe they're helping. They're moving us a bit closer to getting Fernandez. So we could take a little bit of comfort in that, I guess. That's. I'm trying to put a bit of a positive on there. I don't want to see Arsenal win games of football, but if they do win, then that could be the silver lining possibly. And Angela Stiller is also a reasonably priced option as well. It makes you think of Top Gear, reasonably priced car. Everyone's like going, Angela. I think Angela Stiller is definitely on the list of everybody goes, yeah, Angela Stiller's a good price. But he's definitely still a good price, isn't he? It's quite funny. If you were at Chumani, you'd rather go for a club that always comes second in the Premier League. I don't know. Would you like? Would you really want to go to Arsenal over Manchester United? It's different levels, isn't it? But if Arsenal win the Premier League this season, does anybody think Arsenal are going to lift it again? I think they've been worked out somewhat, and I think they're limping towards the line. So I think it's going to be a different situation, like very different. And so I bet we end up going cheaper and going Hackney and Wharton only. Still decent. Yeah, I think Hackney is maybe more of possibly a better fit for what United try and do. I think Wharton, I don't know, might be trickier. I think Wharton might be a bit more of a difficult one. I can see United being interested in a lot of these, but Yeah. How would people rate Fernandez? Like, what would you be looking at? I think he again is like going to be someone that I think defensive stats have been very good for Fernandez. So you think they're going to bottle? I'll get the bottle emoji back ready just in case, Ryan. I think I can put another emoji on another two, so I'll put a bottle on there just in case. You never know. You never know. And why is anyone why is anyone who's seen Arsenal play want to be involved in such boring football? I get the feeling that Arsenal might get over the line if they get completely pumped by PSG. If it's a mismatch in the final and Arsenal get battered and somehow don't win the Premier League, then this is like basically the best ever chance, isn't it? Like this is Arsenal's best ever chance to win trophies. And I'm trying to think of an example. It might be like Spurs. Like Spurs got to a Champions League final, weren't competitive against Liverpool, and I think you also had similar season. Spurs didn't they come second in the Premier League, or did they come third? It was something like that as well. Why would I prefer Man City winning over Lance Armstrong FC? I think it's because no one takes City seriously. Like their achievements are meaningless because they break all the financial rules, and they've got no fans. They've got no fans. If where I've lived in, say, three places in the actually four places in the UK I've lived, and I've met too many Arsenal fans everywhere, like way too many. I've met one City fan in real life, so that's probably why. So it's different, isn't it? It's different for where you are. If you're fans in different places, if you live in like a different country, you might have a different view. If you live in like I've lived in Wales, I've lived in the north, I've lived in the Midlands, and I've lived further south. So I've lived in four quite different areas of the UK, not very close to each other at all. And when I lived in Wales, there was loads of Man United fans, loads of Liverpool fans, some Everton fans, Aston Villa fans, a bit of Arsenal, bit of Spurs, couple of bit of Chelsea, but generally that kind of like old sort of top five teams. In the north, I knew mainly Manchester United fans again, but also think Liverpool fans. Probably not so many London club fans. In the Midlands, lots of Leicester fans, Nottingham Forest fans, but again, Man United fans. So yeah, no, it's just when you go, even like coming down here, there's lots of Arsenal fans everywhere, unfortunately. So yeah, crazy. So it's a form of respect, isn't it? If Liverpool win trophies, genuinely it's bad for Man United fans. If Arsenal win trophies, it's like it's bad as well, isn't it? Like that gap between Liverpool winning a trophy, the Premier League title, having a top flight title for 30 years without winning it was great. And I think with the Arsenal situation as well, it's like when was the last year? Was it 2004? So we're talking about 22 years since Arsenal won a trophy, like a big major trophy, and it just like it would be disappointing, wouldn't it? They're really close, like they're really close. If they don't get over the line, they've only got themselves to blame in this one. But they should do it, but no. Um, so they'll be just like Liverpool. Yeah, this is kind of a one-off, isn't it? And so if Arsenal win, then yeah, if Arsenal win, they've done it in a sensible way. They've built year on year on year, and the last 3 or 4 years they've just got better each year. It might be that they benefit from City slipping up a bit, but you have to say, if they do win it, the football's been not great to watch. But maybe the Man United Arsenal match this season was a classic. The 3-2 match was a classic match, like a really good match, one of the best matches we've played against Arsenal for years. And in that match, you know, we put away one of the best teams in the Premier League this season. But if Arsenal win it, they've had games this season where they've been very good. They've had a good Champions League run. If they do win, if they beat PSG, no matter how they do it, you got to say fair play. That they've found a way to win. Like if they win it and get lucky, we did that in 1999. We got a bit lucky against Paris Saint-Germain, but against Bayern Munich, but we were very good in that competition and every other game. So you need a bit of luck to win trophies, and Arsenal also got a bit of quality, but it'd just be disappointing, wouldn't it? If if Arsenal do it, Arteta could potentially live on a high. Uh, I've heard the story once. where people were predicting that maybe Arteta would go to Barcelona or maybe Arteta would go to I don't know go to Man City. I don't know what's happened with that one. Yeah, they may get lucky. It's a one-off game, isn't it? I remember watching Manchester City against who was it that got relegated against Wigan, and I watched no, I watched Wimbledon play against Liverpool. Sometimes in a final you can just step up. It's a massive game for Arsenal, and they got unlucky against Barcelona in the other final they got to because I think they got sending off. They took the lead and got sending off, so they got unlucky in that final and lost to Barcelona. And maybe Thierry Henry stayed a little bit longer because of that. So now maybe they need a bit of luck, but it's really difficult to win these sort of competitions. That's the bottom line. So let's go through a few of the comments. Big up to you, Matty, you legend. And big up to you, Temsgen. Oh, Temsgen, have you been in the channel recently? Because I know I recognise your name from Red Devil United, but if this is the first time you're back here, then big up to you. Thanks for getting involved. It says, please, Wilcox, who do you want? Tonali, Matheus Fernandes, Xavi Simmons got a serious injury, isn't he? So I think there's a few players on that list that maybe will be. Yeah. Randy says you feel sorry for Arsenal fans. Whereabouts do you live, Randy? Just out of interest. I think that I know an Arsenal fan that lives very close to me, used to work with him, and he's a good guy. He's actually got the same name as me. But he was like relentless about going on, and every single game they lost, he'd always blame the referee. Every time we beat them, he'd find fault with it. And this is when I'm talking about, Ronaldo and Rooney. He would never give Man United any credit. He was just so funny. But he was like, I just know a lot of people like that. So it would just be, I don't know, if you know loads of Arsenal fans, you just know what it's like. But if they do win it, then fair play. They can enjoy it, but it would just be, I just don't want to be involved. That's what I'd say. I don't want to be involved in that one. Yeah, Everton should have put them away. There are people that have just come into the stream though and got involved. We're talking about a couple of players. So I just saw someone mention Matheus Fernandes. He's kind of the other story as well. So I don't put him in the description because Valverde's like, went to hospital. It's quite serious, and we don't know what the nature of his injury is. But he's out for the Clasico. Real Madrid, like jokes aside, though, they're going to have to punish these two players for what's happened, and it's going to be a bit of an embarrassment. Like having the Mbappe thing as well, it's a bit of an embarrassment for their club. Can you imagine if Manchester United had that with one of our players, and there was a public poll to get rid of the player? It's really bad, isn't it? Like must be pretty bad for Mbappe to see that as well. So no, to talk about this would have been like a lead story, and the other stuff has happened. And this is Fernandez. We've been in talks with him for about 4 to 6 weeks, apparently, and that's potentially going to be something like this one. I'll just say that if people are just causing trouble, then they will get timed out or blocked. So I'll just try and keep it on to football chat. I think last night there was like loads of unnecessary chat about random things. I'll say Liverpool fans are the most annoying fans. They argue about anything. To be honest, there's a couple of people I know that I'm just trying to think. I know an Arsenal content creator, and I know a Liverpool content creator that are actually quite level-headed. But again, it is like, you have to pick for a lot of, you have to separate the wheat from the chaff with this one and find out some good people. But there are some good people I know behind the scenes, and I will be trying to get them involved more because some of the people I'm talking about are football fans for decades. They're very well, you know, very knowledgeable about a lot of things, have very rational opinions, and I will get them involved when we're talking about not we're going to be talking about their club, we're going to be talking about Manchester United, but they'll be good people to talk about as well. Yeah, well played for that. It said for the last 3 years in the gym, Arsenal tops suddenly appear in January and disappear in April. They stuck around way too long for your liking this year. It's a I think it's is it a UK thing? I was going to say I know like people don't have to say specifically where they're from. I was just kind of interested that if you're in the UK, you must have like it might be where you live, of a different view as well, because think we've oh, we had that with Greenwood. Did we? We probably did have something actually. No, but I was going to ask Randy, like, just like as a rough guide, if you live near Arsenal fans, you might have different. But if you've got friends that are Arsenal fans, like I've got a friend that's a Spurs fan. He's a good guy, and I haven't spoken to him about the situation because I know he'd be absolutely devastated. He's a massive football fan, so as much as I think it'd be great to see Spurs get relegated, I'm not going to phone my friend up and take the piss because he's going to be, he's going to hit rock bottom. He was devastated when his university team didn't win, so he's going to be absolutely destroyed. 4-0. Wow. Like you said, I'd love Bournemouth to thrash arrogant Manchester City. Yeah, I hope so. So, shall I finish the? Do people want to finish the stream in about 5 minutes? Like we've been talking quite a long time tonight. I've kind of hit the wall a little bit on things to cover, but if people have got like a final 5 minutes, if there's anything that you haven't mentioned you want to talk about, please get them in. Yeah, massive thanks for Kate for the brilliant joke in the super chat earlier. That was really funny. Many Arsenal friends. Well, this could go either way. Either you're going to be having to hear a lot of celebrating, and I'm going to say annoying, but they're your friends. But you're going to have a lot of vocal friends, or you're going to be sort of you're going to have to do some like counselling here. It's going to be one way or the other, isn't it? It's going to be an extreme. I think Arsenal fans that they are, whether they're happy or not, one thing they are is they're pretty vocal as well. They can be annoying. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna. I don't know them, but I was reading between the lines when you said Arsenal fans. Then I was thinking, I've not met an Arsenal fan yet that's not annoying. I have liked some of them, and some of them have been good laughs, but they tend to be a bit annoying. If Man United beat, I've never met an Arsenal fan that in real life this is where Man United have beaten Arsenal and they've not made some excuse and tried to say that they got robbed. That honestly, that this guy his middle name may as well have been that the ref cost us that game. That's all I've heard from Arsenal fans for about 20 years. And no, Liverpool fans actually seem to be more realistic. Okay, so I'll do a couple of final questions, but also big thanks to everybody that's been getting involved over the last few weeks. I don't know if there's any new subscribers tonight, but if you are a new subscriber, thank you so much for getting involved. And we will be gradually. I think you might have noticed that on a Monday night or a Tuesday night, Jules has been hosting streams, and gradually I think that's going to happen a bit more and more. And gradually there's going to be a couple of guest hosts, and gradually there's going to be a couple more guests, and we're going to gradually build it up and work towards kind of just to give you a balanced view. We have got something planned for the weekend. I don't want to spoil it because it was a bit of a brainstorming situation. Big up to you, Rob, you legend. So I just want to say something about the weekend. Yeah, exactly. I think football brings out the worst in Arsenal fans, doesn't it? And Arsenal fans are just I don't know what it is. One thing I can't explain is that if you're a football fan like me and you watched Man United for decades, then even before Manchester United were good, there was always a real bitter rivalry between Arsenal and Manchester United. There was like the War of Old Trafford. That was like it might have been like a late '80s game. So it was a game before I was watching and it was a game in the '90s, very early, before Man United won the Premier League. There was a game where there's a couple of red cards that both teams were fined. And there's been like this all this anger between Man United and Arsenal, and this was before they were title rivals. And then it kind of blew up over the late '90s, early 2000s. And I don't know what caused it in the '80s, but there's been this massive rivalry between United and Arsenal, but like a physical, angry on the pitch, like kicking each other kind of rivalry, which I kind of because it's they're a good team to fight against. They've been good opposition. So if we can get into a title race and Arsenal's still up there and Liverpool's still up there, that will actually be really good. Big up to you, Rob. Though, thank you so much for the super sticker. I was going to say on the weekend, myself, G Wolf, we deserve better. We had like a little not a meeting, but we had like a chat after a stream because sometimes you do a long stream and then you go, okay, let's have a look. And we just had a chat about something. And we're going to try and do something different on the weekend. So if you're around for the game on the weekend, then call by. We're going to try and do a different sort of stream and hopefully it's a kind of a test run, see how it goes. And hopefully you enjoy it. But we're just thinking like things that might make it like fun for people to get involved with, and it might be something that's a bit different on YouTube. So we're going to try and do something and see what people think. But I'll post some information on like the community page, or when we set up the streams on the weekend, you'll see what's going to happen. But just get involved if you're around on the weekend. There will be a full watch along. We'll do like a pre-match stuff as well. But then after the match, we'll do a different sort of stream. And Pizzagate, yeah, Pizzagate. Do you know what I think of like with Arsenal Man United? You've got Roy Keane in the tunnel. You got Pizzagate. You got like Cantona scoring a ridiculous shot to beat them. You got John O'Shea chipping the goalkeeper. You got an 8-2. You got that counter-attacking goal with like Park and like Ronaldo and Rooney in the Champions League. There's like so many great games that we've beaten them, isn't there? That's so many quality matches. But the games that we won against Arsenal, they meant something because that's the semi-final in 1999. I could list like 10 classic games probably between Manchester United and Arsenal. And when we won trophies. The good thing is recently is that we have lost to Arsenal recently, but we haven't. Arsenal haven't been lifting trophies on the back of that. So that's been the kind of the only good thing about it. So the only good thing. Big up to you, RK. Appreciate that, my friend. So if anyone got any final comments, I do say sometimes that I'll just do like an hour stream and then just start rambling away. But no, we're going to try and do something different. I'm going to give credit to G Wolf for the suggestion as well. So whatever we do on Saturday, I can't actually remember. We just said better in the conversation as well. So maybe it was you as well. So I'll give credit to the other guys. It wasn't my idea, but I think it's a brilliant idea. So we're going to do that on Saturday. Arsenal's success should give Ineos and United hope. If they can become successful, so can we. I like that. If Arsenal can do it, I mean, how difficult can it be? So I never do scout alongs for any of our targets. Scout alongs, how do you mean? Do you mean like do watch alongs for other Premier League other teams? I've been trying to keep this channel Premier League focused, and so if other teams are playing, then we've been focusing on Manchester United. But it depends what people want. But because the channel's quite new, and because of just trying to get established again, then we're just focusing purely on Manchester United stuff. And maybe we might branch out during the World Cup. We will be, yeah. So, so you'll take full, full if it's success. If not, it's G. Wilson Richards' idea. To be honest, I can't even remember whose idea it was. I know it wasn't mine. So I'll happily say it wasn't mine if it's a success. But I think it was when I heard it, I thought this is a good idea. So yeah, you can take 50% credit with G Wolf if you want. I honestly can't remember who suggested it. And if we ask G Wolf, he'll probably forget. So no, I said let's see. Okay, let's say 3 more minutes, and then let's say Man City fans doing watch-alongs for Anderson. Man City fans don't even watch Man City, do they? It's because Man City fans want to watch a proper football team. Manchester City fans just want to watch a team of heritage, and I think when you're looking at it, then Nottingham Forest has got more heritage than Man City. I did actually talk to a Leeds fan recently who was in the chat, and I said that if Leeds got relegated, they fill their ground. If Newcastle get relegated, they fill their ground. Because somebody said, what happens if Man United get relegated? If Man United get relegated, they fill their ground. If Man City get relegated, they can't fill their ground when the Champions League comes into town, can they? So it's crazy. Yeah, I'll say, Man United fans, this is one thing we can do. Anderson had a poor game last night, so if we don't get Anderson, it doesn't matter because he's inconsistent now. So, no, I'm only joking. Blame it on G Wolf, he won't mind. No, it's a good idea, Gregory. So, Gregory, a full time Gregory, you know where the channel is, then you know what to do. Come and have a chat. And actually, there's going to be the watch long might be a bit different as well. So the watch long will be different as well, hopefully. So you might see a couple of different things. And you can blame me for the watch long if you want, but it depends on people wanting to do a certain thing. Isn't it crazy that Sancho had, say, 3 seasons, has a Champions League final, a Europa League final, and a conference final? Wow. How many has he won? I think it is amazing. Oh, so what you're saying here is like Sancho's been playing in some quite good teams. I think I'll have to message him, Gregory, but it's on the cards. But are you going to be around, Gregory? It'd be good to see you in the chat. But there might be some. It might be slightly different. But again, I need to speak to people. Helgi's not the easiest person to contact a lot of times. So we've got about 1 minute, guys. So people said that we need a mobile engine in the mid to pair with Mainu, and they said Anderson, who's not even close to that. So yeah. So the scout report I'm getting back from respected members of the community is that Anderson had a really bad game, and that's what people are saying. So um, people change. I think sometimes I think this like mentally. You know when when you're looking at what's the best for frame? Aesop's fables. And when you look at something, and when something becomes unobtainable, you then psychologically go, "Well, I never really wanted Ronaldinho anyway. I wanted this guy and Ronaldo." So you change your mind, don't you? So I'm seeing this, Man United fans. We can say this. We can now say, we can now say, yeah, we never really wanted to get this Anderson guy. We could have got. Let's find the comment. We can get a different player. Where is that comment? So maybe we'll take a psychologically we'll take a different stance, Man United fans. I don't mind that, but we're going to start saying who do you want in United to die? So I mean, unfortunately, I've been filmed saying I want Anderson as my top target. So um, possibly Tyrone, possibly if it starts quite soon. I mean, I've been talking for like 2.5 hours, so I won't be maybe I'll be listening a lot. So it's based on multiple games. Okay. No, I'm kind of joking a little bit with that one, but no, I think player he's a youngish player. I think the Anderson career trajectory is clearly he's getting better. I think he's a good player, but it's like any player that he's not going to be exceptional every single game. He's not going to be. Um, I think people throw the term world class around loads, and I would say at the moment, like Tchouaméni's world class. He walks into his national team, he walks into Real Madrid's team, he walks into Man United's team. And you could probably say that Anderson, he's going to be getting into Man United's team at the moment. But does Anderson walk in and like kick Madrid players out of their team? Does he walk into like every international team? Then not at the moment. Like it will be interesting to see how he does. But I think he's a good option. And big up to you, Omar. So I don't mind him. He's a good option. Is this too many? Then do I drink Lucasade for the lives or Red Bull? Good energy for long lives. No, to be honest, actually, I don't drink Red Bull. I used to use Red Bull as a hangover cure with like bananas. I think it's like a potassium thing, but it kind of I probably drank too much of it, and there's a bit too much caffeine for that one. But no, um, I only drink Lucasade for some reason. You know the original like orange Lucasade. I used to have that when I was ill when I was little. I don't know why. If you can't eat food or something, it's probably not good for you. But I kind of that's my go-to if I'm not feeling very good. So quite rarely, but no. Honestly, I just talk too much crap in real life, RK. So just to say to people, this is going to be like a little story that no one that's watching on a replay will see this because it's right at the end of a 2.5 hour stream. So I was talking to someone today that came to my house just to do a bit of not nothing exciting, but just do like a little bit of work, a bit of painting, a bit of like plastering, a bit of like on a part of the house. So nothing major, but he was here for like a few hours doing stuff, and I was talking to him, and after a bit, turns out that he's a Man United fan. We talked about other things first, and then we were talking about Carrick and his view because that's someone I've never met. He has no idea what my opinions are. So I just thought I'll just ask him. He's somebody that's supported Man United for longer than I have. His dad was a Man United fan, so he's watched them for like I don't know since the probably 70s or 80s. And his view was like Man United would be stupid like not to give Carrick the job. And I was like, I was just going, okay, what? And he was just saying all these things about the team spirit's good, man, and everything's like it's stable. Everything seems to be moving in the right direction. Players are fighting for each other, and I was like, these are all really good arguments. And it just so I didn't do any streams because he was here working, and I was effectively just watching and talking about football. But I was just thinking that invariably, and someone's going to be coming to do something next week that was like doing something with a door issue because my house is relatively new, so there's a couple of things. He's a Liverpool fan, and last time he came round, I think I was wearing my Man United shirt, and we were talking today because this guy knew him, and he was saying, I said, yeah, I'll talk about football after after he's fitted the door because no, he's a good guy. But it's funny that just I think a lot of people in real life just like talking about football. So I think that okay, I think the idea of the channel was that there's just normal people, myself, Wizard Better, G Wolf, Kieran, and I think Bilal's come on. Who else came on as guests? We had like JR, we had Ian, we had Dora and Owen, and I think and everybody's got different opinions. So the kind of ethos of the channel is that we're going to expand a bit, and we have actually Jules as well. So Jules will be hosting stuff, and this is kind of what we're thinking. So it's just different people, different opinions, and gradually we're kind of hopefully do more content. But there won't be the streams won't be as long, but there'll be more people doing different variety, I think. And when it comes to the World Cup, we're going to be hammering the World Cup, so that's going to be really good. So Luke said is the drink of champions. Which one though? I kind of like the old school one. When I used to go to the gym more, I used to quite like the sport version just to get a load of electrolytes in. But I do quite like a coffee, and I think having a bit of caffeine like 45 minutes before any sort of exercise or sport is actually quite good. Not to the level that Liverpool players do it, but yeah. So I like a coffee and caffeine, but I don't want to do it like Klopp players. I don't want to be taking an amount that's probably detrimental to health. So I'm not caffeine loading, I'm just having it for enjoyment. Exactly, Mickey. Exactly. Different views, different opinions in a friendly environment. So that's the idea. So one thing I'm going to try and expand on as well, but this is kind of basically like a QA type. This is kind of feels like me not interrogating, but just kind of like doing a bit of market research. Also, I know a few rival fans, content creators that will be up for joining streams where they might be fans of different clubs, but we're going to be talking about Manchester United, and they're going to be talking about football players rather than their club. So we'll be talking about maybe if we got targets that I can get a Newcastle fan on to talk about Tonali if something progresses with that deal. If we start looking at potentially looking at other players, then there is potentially content creators that are going to be. I know a guy that he moved from being a Liverpool fan channel to a general football channel, so he can come on, and he's a great guy as well. So yeah, it's going to be that sort of thing where things are going to expand in a good way. Um, original one. The orange one's okay, but the original one I quite like. I don't know what it is. I think it's there's a kind of like 50% nostalgia. I know 50% taste. But I used to like the it's probably really bad, overly packaged, but it's like you only have the one where you have like this twisty, like what is it, like a yellow orange, like plastic covering for no good reason that was over the top of the bottle, and then you have like a metal cap. I don't know. You obviously don't have it anymore, but it felt like a Lucozade had weird, unnecessary packaging, but it's just part of the uniqueness. I only ever had it when I was actually ill, so it's nostalgic in a way which it felt like a recovery drink. And so 3 packets of Monster Munch. Yeah, Lion Bar was elite back in the day because it was like about, I know, it was like really big. Yeah, you must have had the same, I don't know how old you are, okay. You must have had the same childhood as me because Pickled Onion Monster Munch, a Lion Bar, and Lucozade was literally, that's like the ploughman's lunch equivalent for a child growing up in the 90s where you think there's like enough calories for like half the day to run around and do and play football. I used to take a Lion Bar. It felt like having like 2 chocolate bars in one. Yeah. OG Lucasade. Yeah, it's genuinely good. Um, so that was way off track. Bit to you, Mr. B. Yeah, Luke stayed in hospital. Yeah, it's like I don't know if what the reason was. It's like it just seems to be one of those things. Prawn cocktails. Yeah, they're good as well. They're good. Yeah, people join for the football chat. They stay for the 90s nostalgia. Yeah, that's good as well. I did like that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I might join that space if like just for a little bit of time. But no, thanks for people for watching. Sugar tax has ruined it. Is that what's happened? Um, I think with packs of crisps now, I don't tend to eat many crisps now, but they seem to be yeah, they're pretty much everything's small. I mean, my hands haven't got massively big, but you open a packet of crisps. If my daughter opens a packet of crisps and I say, "Can I have some?" There's literally about three crisps. You go, no, fine, you eat them. There's literally nothing there. It's crazy. I feel disappointed for them because their chocolate bars are now a quarter of the size and probably not even proper chocolate. So I feel like they've been deprived a little bit. No, so that's way off track. So in summary, too many's good, good option. Punching Valverde is bad, but it doesn't mean that he's a bad signing for Manchester United. And the Fernandes one, I think it's positive. So I'm gonna have to wrap up because I've been live way too long. I had a bit of a headache today, but when I only do one stream, there's kind of a lot of energy to get out of this one as well. Scampi fries. Actually, Knickknacks is another one. I don't know what the flavor is, but the Knickknacks crazy flavor, whatever it's called, nice and spicy. That's good. That's a good one. So rumor has it that's how we sold Garnacho. We offered free Lucasade in a year. But job done. Like whatever it was, we got him off the books, and I don't think Chelsea can sell him. So yeah, Chelsea are going to be in a mess. So brilliant. Guys, if you're new and you want to get involved in the football chat, on the Discord. The link is in it's actually in the live chat. It should be pinned, or if it's not pinned, yeah, I think it is pinned. It's there. That's the socials. The Discord's now up to about. I think the Discord's on about 70 plus people. But Mr. B, there is a section there if you want to promote your own stuff. So if you're on Discord, you can post your stuff for your channel there. Hopefully, get a bit of traction. But that's the idea that other content creators will be using a bit of it as a resource as well. Um, evening, evening, Ian. Just about to wrap up, but thanks for getting involved. I did actually mention you as well about 5 minutes ago, just outlining that yourself, other people in the chat, other people. We are going to be expanding things as well, and it'll start on the weekend. We'll start doing a bit more stuff as well. Yeah, Anderson's now worth 90 million, I believe. He's gone down a little bit, unfortunately. Take care, guys. We're going to be doing some big content when it comes to the weekend. There's hopefully going to be a few lives tomorrow, building up to the game on the weekend. The weekend's going to be a bumper stream as well. There's going to be a few things on that. So please get involved. If you watch, I know there's going to be like 1,000 Man United channels streaming stuff on the weekend, but we're going to try and do something a bit different. So please get involved if you're around. But cheers, guys, and we will catch you in the next one.